go. Make the body rock. Body rock. Yeah. Body rock. Here you go. Make the body rock. Yeah.
Frozen over, stuck in time, out of breath in my mind. Is this how it will be when you promise this, you and me? Could it be us? Could it be us till forever? Till forever, forever us? Could it be us? Could it be us till forever? Forever, say you'll be mine. Say that you will, say that you will. Say you'll be mine. Say that you will, say that you will. You will always be the deepest part of me. Heavy hearts healed in time. I breathe fire, your eyes so bright, the dark will guide us through the night. Bye, bye, my love, I'll shine for you.
Welcome to the WREC European Championship. I am so excited to bring you another brilliant week of WREC Esports, and we've had loads to catch up on as well. As you can see on your screen, Weigers managed to walk their way through the lower bracket last week versus Principality. They had an excellent performance to show what they were made of. Aphelion surprise versus Supremacy. A lot of people are really taken by surprise at the result here. It was a fantastic series, but it was Aphelion that came out on top, and they sent Supremacy home. And we also had Blows versus Entropic. This is another surprise. Blows really came out swinging. The Spanish representatives keeping their hopes alive in the lower brackets, having some excellent performances all round, and they will be here to fight for another week in the WREC European Championship. It was a really fantastic game, and I think a lot of people surprised by the result as well. Then we had Mood versus Control. Most people thought Control would be in control here, and that absolutely was the case. They dominated from start to finish, and I think Control looked really comfortable in that lower bracket, hoping to fight their way back up towards the top of the tournament. And of course, in the upper bracket, we had Zero Zone versus Viv. It was another insane series, but it was Viv that came out on top in the end after some incredibly close games across the entire series long. It was absolutely fantastic. And of course, Game Lord versus Queso, the ticket match of last week, and it lived up to the expectations. It was a really close game between both teams, and it was Game Lord that just about managed to squeak their way on top after taking Team Queso down 2-1. Let's get ready, though, for another exciting week of WREC.
Welcome to the official WREC Games WREC EMEA Championship.
Everybody round here know we get hyped. Everybody round, everybody round, everybody round, everybody round,
Welcome everybody to the WREC European Championship. I'm Scoundrel. I'm joined by Hells and Stuart today as we've got some more absolutely banger upper bracket matches to bring you. Guys, how are you feeling? Hells, I'll start with you. Another great week of WREC Esports, and today we've got some amazing games.
Oh my god, I'm feeling absolutely amazing. You know, we're going to be seeing two Titans match up today as well. Navi against WREC Gaming. Super excited to see, especially after a new patch with all of the different kinds of changes, especially to the runes. Really excited to see what these teams are going to be bringing to the table, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Stu. And while we have a look at the brackets, Stu, you could talk us through some of those amazing matches that we saw last week, as well as what we can expect this week too.
Yeah, we saw the two Titans face off last week. We kind of have four Titans really in the tournament. We saw Game Lord take down Team Queso 2-1, but then this week we're starting off the week with an absolute banger. WREC.GG against Navi, as Hells has mentioned already, but also Formulation against Team Dark as well, which I think will be a really close series in that upper bracket, and maybe one of the closest series we'll have this weekend.
I think it's going to be a really insane set of games on the upper side of the bracket, but of course we still have our lower bracket teams fighting it out as well. Aphelion, Weigers, Blows and Control all made it through, but this is where the test for our lower bracket teams is going to begin to start. Queso versus Blows, a Spanish showdown on the bottom side of the bracket, and Zero Zone versus Control as well. Of course, those teams will be wanting to keep themselves in with a fighting chance to move on to the upper end of the bracket. Today, as we mentioned, WREC versus Navi, an absolutely banger game. And of course, we then have Formulation versus Team Dark as well. So very exciting games in the upper bracket all the way through the day. Guys, I guess this really brings us on to predictions, and we should have a look about where the rest of our talent are predicting where these wins are going to go. I think there's a bit of a split on some of these series, but I think a lot of them are also relatively predictable, and we'll take a look now. WREC's across the board, apart from Stress. Stress has just decided to go against the grain here, and has gone for Navi and Formulation, but the rest of us have gone for WREC and Team Dark. Hells, do you think that we're in the right, or do you think Stress might be upsetting us this week?
So I definitely think WREC will win the first match. I voted for that one by far. But perhaps for the second series, Team Dark against Formulation, it's a bit closer than what the first game is going to be, we think. Of course, we only think that, you know, anything can happen. But I think I'm going to be right with my predictions. So are you guys.
Well, we'll have to see. Stu, what do you think? Do you think that you're pretty comfortable with your predictions this week?
I mean, I'm feeling comfortable, but obviously, as Hell said already, it's a new patch, and teams have only had like a day to practice. So it's about who's able to adapt that quickly. And, you know, today could be the day for upsets. Who knows?
We'll take a look at some of what you guys have been saying on social media as well before we get into the games. We've had a lot of interesting chatter on social media over the week. This was Redemption saying a shout out to my Spanish companions in my team. I think essentially he was kind of recognized in game, which is pretty funny. And he kind of realized he was on the Game Lord roster, and they kind of said good luck and I hope you have a good time this weekend. So really nice to see that there's a lot of appreciation and recognition for our players on the European server. Redemption is definitely one of those players that I think has risen to an extreme level this year after what was, I think, was a relatively under the radar 2021. But I think Redemption has really come into his own in 2022 and has been a major driving force for the Game Lord victories that we've seen thus far. But great to see that he's getting he's getting a little bit of recognition in game, and it's nice to see that he appreciates that on social media as well. But that is everything. We're winding up now, guys, to what is essentially going to be our first series of the day, and I believe we are saying goodbye to Stuart for the time being. We're gonna wave him off into the distance. He'll be back very shortly with an interview and some key points to look forward to. But that does now mean, Hells, that we can have a talk about this week. And the headline, obviously, is the new patch, which was a little bit delayed and has dropped only 2 days ago in the build-up towards this first series.
Yeah, definitely. You know, when you have a new patch only 2 days before the games, teams don't have a lot of time to prep for it. And we had some very significant changes as well, right? And especially the champion that we're seeing on the top left, Yumi. This is the biggest change that we see in the patch, because Yumi is already a new champion, and players are just not that familiar with her yet. But she got a massive buff. So you cannot just ignore her anymore. You definitely cannot ignore her anymore. And Fizz as well, he got a tiny nerf. Jax got a nerf, Lulu. So it changed, the meta changed, and especially the rune meta as well. Players are not used to them yet, and especially if you look at conditioning too, this is also a major change. We're gonna have a lot of different kinds of playstyles because of the way that the rules got changed, and it's gonna be very exciting to see how these teams are gonna be playing around it, and Electrocute as well. It's just so many big changes that the teams only had 2 days to prepare for, Excalibur.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to show you the resolve and the flexibility of our teams here. This is one of the joys of being in very early stages of an esport, when you do have to be flexible, you do have to kind of go with the live punches that you get from the game. But I think pro teams, you know, that's part of what makes a pro team good. That ability to adapt, that ability to read the meta and kind of figure out what's strong as quickly as possible. Of course, the big one, I think, is that Yumi has been unleashed, Hells. This has been a big change for Yumi in this patch.
Yeah, definitely. We already saw Yumi do quite some work for Team Queso, but we didn't see her besides that because she was just not that powerful. But now we're going to see her every single draft. It's a guarantee. Like, there is no way teams are not going to pick or ban her. And she is indeed going to be unleashed. And honestly, even though I hate Yumi, you know, I got to be biased there. I personally don't like Yumi. It's like Lulu to me. But I'm really excited to see her being played in competitive. Because the things that she can provide to a team, no other champion can do it. The buffs, the things, just everything that she can provide, no other team can do. And I'm really excited to see what these teams are going to be doing with this little cat.
I think Yumi is going to be a very interesting addition to the Wild Rift roster competitive. I know that we have seen some competitive players pick up Yumi in other regions. Yumi Top has been in both Korea and Southeast Asia. And she got everything buffed, by the way. There was no trade-offs. There was no sort of like, well, we buff this, but we don't buff this, or we buff this, and we nerf this. Everything got buffed. Yeah, so anything that she was good at doing previously, she's now just better at doing overall, and especially that top lane Yumi. Kind of interested to see if that becomes more and more popular, even with the Jax nerfs. You know, there is some realm of possibility that we do see Yumi played in some unique areas. Right, Hells. That means we're working towards our first game of the day, and that also means, I believe, we have an interview as well. So Stuart should be standing by. Oh, no interview yet. So we've been told that we've got to wait a little bit longer on that one. So it means we'll go back and have a look at the players, the rosters that are confirmed for this matchup. Let's take a look at those rosters and see, kind of judge those matchups, judge where we are in terms of the Baron lane all the way down to the Dragon lane, and see who you think, Hells, might have the edge and where the win conditions are coming from. Obviously, some big names on both of these teams. Where do you see the strong points of both of these roster, Hells, and which players should we really be looking towards to secure victory?
I mean, honestly, if you look at both these rosters, everyone really is a strong point. But out of those strong points, the biggest one would definitely be Random. We saw Rix play in the first game. And oh my god, we were casting that game as well, Xcandro. Random was just on another level. But the same can really be said about Vex, which is the jungler for Na'Vi. And I feel like that is the part of Na'Vi that can get them the edge in this game. Because even though WREC has a roster filled with amazing players, their jungler, SP7, even though an incredible player, is quite new to the roster. So I feel like that is the place for Na'Vi to look for, you know, the jungler Vex, and then being supported by all of those amazing teammates. That's how Na'Vi can take this game from WREC.
I think it's going to be really interesting. I genuinely believe that Na'Vi are really, really strong. And so I think, like, overall, you know, we could be seeing a very close matchup, maybe closer than we've given it credit for. Now, I think obviously we are heading into that game. Does mean we have Stuart on the sidelines. He's going to be running through some key points for us for this first matchup.
Thank you very much, Xcandro. Yes, we have the key points for first game or first series of the day. We have the Battle of the Titans. We saw already last week, Team Queso versus Game Lord. Now we're seeing our other two Titans, WREC.GG and Na'Vi, go at it, which could be, for some people, the two strongest teams in the entire tournament. It's going to be very, very interesting to see who comes out on top. And speaking of the two Titans, you got the new unique champions as well that all of these players play, you know, 10 players across the board. All of them have very unique champion pools, and a lot of them can play a lot of champions as well at the same time. So it'll be very interesting. We saw, you know, two unique champions from Snitch and from Yeku last week as well. So that'll be very, very interesting to see if they'll bring out something a bit different for this new patch. And then we talk about the early game rotations. Now, we kind of struggled with this a little bit against Entropic, but they did come out on top in the end, with Vex going kind of clutching in the end on the Fiora. But we saw WREC.GG absolutely dominate. So it's all going to be about the early game rotations for these two teams and how they can get an advantage and try and snowball into the mid and the late game. I'm really excited for this. Hopefully you all are as well. Let's head back to Xcandro and Hells to get us closer to game number one.
Thank you, Stu. Yeah, I think you've really pointed out some important things. And I think one of the things that I think back on Na'Vi was, yeah, they won versus Entropic, but Entropic made it really hard for them. And does that bode well for going into a team like WREC, who we hadn't seen much of them coming into their first game of the WREC European Championship, but when we saw them, they smashed it. Like, they really, really crushed it. So I think Na'Vi are going to have their work cut out for them. For me, personally, Howes, I'm looking at Vex. You know, I want Vex to be the guy that's driving Na'Vi here. I kind of touted him as one of my best junglers in the entire competition. And I think in the right situation, with the right resources, to me, Vex feels like the guy that could carry this game.
Yeah, as I said as well, Vex feels like the guy. And last time we actually interviewed someone of Na'Vi, which was Gao, and he mentioned that the reason that they didn't do too well against Entropic the first game is because they didn't have any warm-up. Now, I really hope for them that they had more than enough warm-up, because now they're facing up against WREC, which is obviously no joke, right? It's WREC Gaming. It's one of the, if not the best teams in Europe. So I really hope Na'Vi is going to be prepared this time for this game, because we saw their second game. They were insane. They dominated Entropic compared to that first game. So I still feel like we haven't quite seen how good these teams are, but that's why we have the game of today. So it's going to be incredible to watch these teams play against each other.
Hopefully we're getting into picks and bans relatively soon here. Obviously, that is where it's going to start, that draft battle. I'm really interested to see if the new patch has affected what is going to be prioritized by pros. Yeah. Will Yuumi just be a ban, like you said? You know, or we'll be seeing some different prioritization. I will say that we had relatively small balance changes in terms of the number of champions affected on patch 3.0b. So it was like, it wasn't as many champions as usual that were changed on 3.0b. I think there was maybe like 4 or 5 champions that got changed, right?
Yeah, no real dramatic changes to many champions except to Yuumi, right? We got the Jax nerf, the Fizz nerf. We got some champions changed, but it doesn't really dramatically affect them, especially not in competitive. But the Yuumi one, that's the only one. And then there are other picks, right? And as we get into pick and bans, I talked about Yuumi, but there is other picks that are still insanely good as well, right? Like the Sat, the Camille, the Galio, the Orianna, etc. There is much more. And you only have 6 champions to ban out in that first part of the draft. So it's going to be interesting to see if they decide to actually ban out the Yuumi or ban out some of the other champions that's coming.
Well, it's going to be a Corki ban here, so they're trying to limit Yequi and Hydro's ability to play pretty safe champions. But actually, you know, Corki has been a fan favorite. There's the Yuumi ban straight away from Na'Vi. A red side first ban. That always indicates that they think that champion's first pickable. They think that champion is strong, and they don't want to give that champion to Rix in any way, shape, or form. So that, I think, guys, at home, you're getting your indication about what the pro teams feel about Yuumi now that we're seeing the changes. The set comes through. The Jax is still a ban here for Rix, despite those nerfs to the attack speed. Interestingly enough, Hells, I had a conversation with myself about this on my video, and I kind of talked about the fact that attack speed is like diminishing returns, because there is a max attack speed that you can get to in League of Legends and Wild Rift. And so once you reach a certain attack speed, any more attack speed that you gain after that becomes diminishing returns, and you don't get as much value out of it. So like 20% sounds like a lot of attack speed. When you stack it on the rest of the attack speed that you pick up, it actually doesn't mean as much. Anyway, getting into maths. It's Fiora first pick, followed by a Garen first pick over the side of Na'Vi. So Fiora for random. I mean, look, Hells, you've probably played versus Fiora, random's Fiora. I've played versus random's Fiora. It's one of his best champions. I think you might have been in the game with me when I played against
I was.
And I got absolutely bodied. His Fiora is nothing to mess around with, although I say that SE7 has now potentially indicated that he might be taking the Fiora with a Darius pickup here. So Darius gets locked in. There might be a Fiora jungle. Very likely is going to be Doom playing Ziggs here. This is like straight out of the Rix playbook. This is a very, very standard Rix composition coming through now.
Yeah, and I really like this Rix competition. And we talked about it, right? Na'Vi is going to ban the Yuumi. And I want to give a quick tip, or not a tip, a quick fact to the people watching. Blue is the top 1 Yuumi in Europe. That is why Na'Vi banned out the Yuumi. They don't want to be dealing with the top 1 Yuumi. They don't want to do that. And talking about this draft, I really like the direction Rix is taking right here, because they've picked the Fiora, they've picked the Darius, and they've picked the Ziggs. You have no idea where these are going. They can go anywhere. And if you look at Na'Vi, they have a Lee Sin, who's going to be the jungler. They have a Rakan, who's going to be the support. They have a Garen, who's very likely going to be the Baron laner. So Rix knows which roles to ban out now. They know who to ban against, and Na'Vi doesn't. So the draft has started very nicely for Rix. As you can see, they ban out the Orianna because they know Orianna can be picked in the Dragon lane or in the mid lane. They're taking away these power picks from Na'Vi right now. So I feel that it's going to be much harder for Na'Vi to pick 2 good champions at the end than it is going to be for Rix, example.
Yeah, and they're getting rid of things like the Orianna. So like you said, the powerful mages that could be paired up with the Rakan on the bottom side of the map. Thresh and Galio get taken away here. So trying to limit some of these hard CC supports that we could see come through. And we're going to see a final ban here from Rix. It will be the Morgana. So the Morgana gets banned away. That's another powerful AP carry that you could have seen in the bot lane, sometimes in mid, although not as often, and maybe even in obviously not support, because we've got Rakan already picked up here. So now, like you said, Na'Vi are going to have that choice. They'll be revealing another part of their roster here with the final pick. But as you mentioned, they've already given quite a lot away about what they're sort of offering.
Yeah, Na'Vi is definitely going to be looking for some sort of a mage, and Rix knows that already, right? Na'Vi definitely has to look for a mage because they need it, and they actually choose to go for the Diana. So I feel Rix should have a counter to this, because Diana is a really strong power pick, and they chose to ban Morgana instead of the Diana. And we know that Diana has been considered as a very high priority pick in competitive. So it's going to be interesting to see what Rix decides to pick against this Diana.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that the Darius is well placed this game. He's got a lot of melee champions to stack up on. He's got Garen, Lee Sin, Diana. I'm now saying Diana like you, Diana Kiernan. You're British. I'm
from the Netherlands. For me, it's fine.
It's my fault. I'm now copying Hells. I'm like, wait a second, Kiernan, you actually speak English. So Braum gets locked in here as the support for Clue. It's a very standard pick. And Jace, something that actually went straight through the ban phase, Hells, which is Jace, who was previously ban priority pretty much all the time.
Firstly, I want to talk about that Braum pick, because I find it very interesting for Rix to pick Braum. I feel like they don't need a Braum, because if you look at the composition of Na'Vi, they don't have any champion, or they don't have many projectiles to throw. And now, as I said it, they picked the Varus, who Braum works pretty well against, but I don't feel like Braum is the best pick right there. They don't really need a tank, because they already have that Darius and the Fiora. And like, what is the Braum going to be providing for Rix in this situation? Is it just a really solid champion to always pick? I don't understand it. I guess we'll find out throughout the game. Obviously, he's really strong in the early game as well. And also talking about Na'Vi's pick, Varus, really solid pick to counter that damage from the Ziggs, right? Like, Ziggs throws his bombs, you're going to throw your arrows as a Varus. So I kind of like how Na'Vi picked those last 2 champions in this draft. I feel like they made their draft just a little better than the initial 3 picks.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on the Braum is that he's always a good anti-melee champ as well. Like, if you have to... There are 2 ways that Braum really activates his passive. Obviously, one being through his first ability. The other one is if he can smack him with his big old hand. So, like, if they're in melee, you have the chance to get multiple stacks spread across multiple people. So, I always don't mind Braum into heavy melee comps, because also it makes your Glacial Fissure ultimate that much more like readily landable. So I think it's okay. I think it's an okay pick. Like you said, though, not as many projectiles for you to worry about. Although, as you mentioned, the Varus now coming in is something that actually gets a bit more value out of the Braum in that sense. But I think both comps looking pretty good. Very standard, I would say, very standard comp from Rix, what they're used to running pretty much all the time. Whereas when you look over at Na'Vi, they've kind of threaded something together here. They've got some teamfight presence with the Diana and the Varus. You've got the big beefy front line of the Garen, which should be able to build a lot of armor this game. I mean, obviously you've got to worry about Ziggs, but for the most part should be able to build a lot of armor because you've got a full AD topside and get away with it. So interesting. We'll have to see how this pans out. I mean, what comp are you liking more, Hells, going into this game?
Ooh. It's close, honestly. I will still lean towards Rix's comp, but I'm gonna say it's not by much. It's not by much. I really like the ending of Navi's draft. And as we get into the game now, we have a Garen-Darius matchup. And this is a very interesting matchup, especially because we're going to see Random play it out. Because Garen-Darius both can win, right? Garen wins the short trades, Darius wins the longer trades. Is Fi going to be able to actually apply enough pressure in the early game? Because that's the moment where Garen can win against the Darius to win out this lane against Random.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. And me and you will have played this matchup thousands of times. And the way that Garen wins is wait for grasp proc, bonk Darius on the head, and just hope that you run away. And usually that involves just trying to be a little bit conscious about, wait a second, we have a fight down bot here. That is an all-in level.
Wow.
How do you get away with that, man? Trades one back, but that surely goes over to Xiao, I think, who picks up the kill. That is a huge win for Rix. A level 2, literally, red buff into bot lane gank from Fiora.
Oh my god, and it's crazy. Na'Vi has a Lee Sin, and Rix pulls off the level, or Rix pulls off the minute 1 gank against the Lee Sin. I mean, how confident do you have to be to do that against the Lee Sin, who is the strongest early game jungler in the game? And as we look into the replay, Fiora just coming in and they're going for it. Stunning the enemy with the Braum, slowing with the Ziggs, just getting 2 kills very easily. And sure, Na'Vi gets a kill back. But it's totally worth it, because I believe the Rakan got the kill as well, although I would have to confirm. But amazing start for Rix Gaming right there, and they're already 500 gold ahead.
How do you get away with that in a Ziggs lane as well? I mean, SE7, I didn't see exactly what happened on the map, but SE7 must have seen a prime opportunity. Maybe they baited in Xiao with the engage, and then there was just SE7 waiting in the wings. But that was a pretty crazy early opening here for Rix against Na'Vi. And now that puts them on the front foot, especially SE7. Like, if you can snowball on a Fiora, it's really powerful in Wild Rift.
Oh yeah, definitely, and that's what I meant as well, right? Like the Lee Sin is playing it passive now, and SE7 on the Fiora playing very aggressive. And I want to highlight Snitch in the mid lane as well. I've watched his stream a lot, and he's been playing that Jace in the mid lane a lot. He's doing really well with it. We're not seeing Jace being played a lot in the mid lane, more in the Baron lane. But as I said, Snitch is gonna pull it off in the mid lane. He's gonna be a very big threat to Na'Vi right here. Although Na'Vi does have the Diana, which has a bit better ganking potential, so it's gonna be interesting to see. We actually have a boss. It seems like one of the teams has an issue, Excel.
Yeah, I think I actually didn't even, you know what, I didn't even know you could pause Wild Rift games. But there we go. It's just going to wait to get that resolved as quickly as possible. Of course, we'll let you know. But I think worth to have a look at the game now from a wider lens. Kind of see exactly what we've seen in the early game. Maybe think a little bit more about win conditions for these teams as well. You mentioned, obviously, we saw that Darius trading back and forth. I think Fi is getting the slight upper hand, although I would say pre-5, it's much easier for Garen to get the upper hand versus the Darius pretty much in every scenario. So I think that's going as expected, even for random standards. But really, that bot lane gank is where we had all that action, all that spicy action where SE7 pulled off the gank down bot and managed to get a double kill out of it. What do we want to see the Fiora do now? Like, obviously needs to accelerate that lead, but how do we want to see SE7 work with that?
So obviously, we've seen Rix play earlier, and the main focus has always really been random lane. We saw SE7 gank random lane a lot in previous game, and I'm pretty sure Na'Vi was kind of prepared for that, right? Like they told Vi, or V, be careful, you're very likely going to get ganked. And then SC7 just comes with the 1 minute gank in bot lane. So what's really going to have to be focused on is these mind games, right? You have to think, okay, what are they going to do next? Are they really going to do what makes the most sense? Or are they just going to do some crazy play, like a 1 minute gank in the Dragon lane? And I feel like WREC already has the edge in this game in the mind games, because they already completely outplayed Na'Vi with the mind games by getting that early game in the bot lane. And it's like, that's what's going to make this game even more interesting to watch, because what is Vex going to do? What is Vex going to do about this? How is he going to approach these ganks, because he's playing Lee Sin? And how is he going to approach potential invades in the WREC's gaming in WREC's jungle?
Yeah, and I think specifically, Lee Sin wants to be aggressive, like you mentioned. He wants to be the one that actually gets ahead of the gang. The whole point of Lee Sin is that his mobility and his dueling potential allows him to take on the 1v1s more readily and allows him to get into lanes more quickly, more so than any other jungler in the game. So, we're expecting him to have had that kind of pace. One of the things that I will say is that a lot of pros, I think, believe that Fiora is a good matchup into Lee Sin. So maybe there's that kind of indication that this was a good pickup, and they kind of baited the Lee Sin pick early on, but then just basically switched Fiora into the jungle after seeing the Lee Sin. Because I think a lot of people do believe that Fiora is a good matchup into Lee Sin, just because if you time the riposte well, you can kind of negate the majority of Vex's damage. So maybe Vex is being a bit more conscious about the way he's playing, knowing that a Fiora is now fed, and also Fiora in general is pretty solid into those matchups.
Yeah, exactly. You don't even have to block out Lee Sin's ultimate to kind of counter him with a Fiora, because if you just block his initial engage with the first ability, you already block out so much damage that your follow-up is just going to outtrade him, especially with your ultimate. And that is the whole power of Fiora. And right here, we're going to see Skau, who is the support, roaming all the way to the Baron lane. And actually, interestingly, Clue is following him up as well. And we may have a gank right there, but everyone is switching lanes, and this is happening before the first dragon. And to explain why they're doing this is because Doom is going to be able to push out the mid lane faster than Snitch, so they can actually have lane priority compared to if Snitch would be matching up against the Varus. So they're switching lanes so they can push out the waves and roam around to the Rift Herald or the Dragon. And both teams are doing this rotation perfectly.
Yeah, that's I think this is a common tactic that we see pretty much all top-level pro teams do right now. It essentially shifts into a 1-3-1 really early on into the game, because as you mentioned, a lot of bot laners are prioritized right now for their ability to wave clear consistently. So you essentially put them mid and it unlocks your support. And I say that we have a big engage, but it's a 3v3. A great ultimate from Diana buys some time for Na'Vi, and they walk away with a kill, already having rotated Hydro down. That man might now set up the first dragon of the game easy for Na'Vi.
Yeah, Na'Vi setting up Clue to become a clueless support on that Braum right there. He just hit a random ultimate right there, not really providing much value in that teamfight. And even though the engage was good, the follow-up was even better. But both teams want to fight right there, Xcandrel.
They want to fight for it, and they're going in straight away, straight onto Na'Vi Fi. He just about manages to get away. A beautiful disengaging ultimate from Hydro, and it stops Random from capitalizing. That is a great hit back from Na'Vi. They get the dragon, they walk away, and they're actually got a bit of a gold lead to work with now as well.
Yeah, Vex just snatched away the dragon right there, engaging with the Lee Sin, boop, smite, and out. They were able to disengage. Gold count, or the gold is the same. WREC has been able to keep up the gold count because SC7 actually pushed out that bottom wave, made Na'Vi lose some gold, but Na'Vi got that dragon. And now it's the turnaround of the games, right? Na'Vi's like, hey, we can actually win, we can do this. And they found opportunities to get the edge in some of these fights. And this is very important, right? The moral has to be high with these teams. Now they both know, hey, we can win this game. And that's what's going to make it even more exciting. And we have a fight.
We have a fight again. The tower dive comes through. Vex just about manages to get away. They take down Snitch. This is great stuff from Vex and great stuff from Na'Vi in general. They are actually ignoring the safe lane of the Ziggs, and they are trying to consistently look for side lane pressure away from Random as well, knowing that WREC often like to put their resources around Random. And they're trying to go after Snitch and really make him feel like the weak link of this WREC roster.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what I was talking about as well. You want to be unpredictable. So they're not going on Random, as you mentioned. No, they're going on Snitch. They're going on the bottom lane. And this is truly what's going to be able to win you the game. Amazing macro plays from Na'Vi right here. They're giving away this Rift Herald, but they're getting quite a lot for it in return. They're 1,000 gold ahead, What they need to do right now is take that bot lane tower as fast as they can, because the tower is at like 1500 HP, and if they still want to be able to get the first tower, they need to apply a lot of pressure on the bot lane tower. But as you can see, Rix knows that's going to happen, and they're going to be ready for it, right? Fiora's on the bot side, Braum is ready to follow up, so both teams know what they both want, but they're both ready for it as well. It's honestly just great to see these teams match up against each other.
Yeah, and I kind of want to highlight how good that Varus pick now feels, given the context of this game as well. Just has the wave clear to match Ziggs. Like, Ziggs is one of the fastest pushing champions in the game. That Varus just basically a piercing arrow and a hail of arrows, and that's a wave gone. And Doom's getting no headway in this mid lane right now. It's basically wave clear central for these two rosters. And you're seeing as well, Rix just having to invest so many resources just to keep Snitch safe. But where are they going to get headway for this tower? Where are they going to get headway for this Rift Herald? They are not getting any love in any of their side lanes.
Yeah, exactly. And as we mentioned, right, Clue is helping Snitch right there. They do not want to lose this tower. They have the Rift Herald. They are behind 1.5k gold, but the Rift Herald is there to make that comeback. So they really want to make sure they save this bot lane tower. And as you said, they don't have any other opportunities to push any lane. Na'Vi has been doing an incredible job pushing out every single wave, applying a lot of pressure. Where are you going to get that first turret, Rix? And I think Na'Vi is going to go for it now. I think this is the pushing play from Na'Vi that is going to be going for the bot lane turret, Alexandro.
Yeah, they're going in 4-man dive here. Clue has already popped. That unbreakable is now going to be a dash for whichever turret goes down first. You can see Yekui's desperately trying, but he won't be able to get away with it. Snitch maybe looking to punish here, jumps in straight onto it. They've already picked up that mid lane tower, and Snitch now uses that opportunity to disengage from Yekui. Doesn't want to take that fight, knowing that Na'Vi could have been hanging around, and somehow Na'Vi was so quick to react there, Hells, and they really played the game well. Sorry, yeah, so Rix were quick to react.
Yeah. Exactly, that's what I was going to say as well. Na'Vi was going to make the power play right there, but Rix was ready with the Rift Herald in the mid lane turret, forcing Na'Vi to go back. Because if Na'Vi would have gone for that turret, Rix would have just gotten 2 turrets in the mid lane, because the Rift Herald would keep pushing. And if no one is defending that, Rix is going to get 2 turrets. So amazing counter play by Rix right there, seeing that Na'Vi was moving to the bot side of the map. This is also the vision game, because as you can see, there is a ward in that bush right there, near the mid lane, and we have a fight.
Well, we did have a fight, and Clue's dead.
We did have a fight. He's already dead.
Already gearing up for the Dragon's second of the game here, and it's Na'Vi who once again managed to make a pick before the Dragon even becomes relevant, and now have that opportunity to just go in and secure that second objective. It has been in the name of the game for Na'Vi to play around these Dragons and set up properly for them. It looks like Rix are happy to try and opt into a 4v5 here. I mean, random man just stood there, flashes away, somehow gets away with it, but gets bopped by the Garen ultimate. Here comes Clue with the teleport. Was that teleport worth it? That's an 800 gold investment right now from Clue, just to go for that teleport to stop a Cloud Drake going down. Random maybe bought a bit of time there. Very interesting approach from Rix right now. They desperately want to hold on to this Dragon, as they've invested so many resources to stop it from going down. You can see that Na'Vi heading back over to this Dragon now, trying to take it. As we have the rest of Rix coming in, you can see they want to force this fight. Does Random have teleport? No, he doesn't. But they've done enough to force Na'Vi away from the Dragon for the time being.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, I really feel like the Braum is going to be useless in these fights. Braum is really not providing any value in these team fights. And it's not because Clue is not playing it right. It's just because Na'Vi doesn't really have to deal with the Braum. They have champions that can just dive right through the Braum. And right here, we can actually see Rix is trying to take this Dragon for free.
I think they might get away with it. The back timings were a little awkward coming out from Na'Vi, but they may get punished for it with the rest of the fight, as here goes Vex, jumps in, doesn't quite find the kick that he wants. In the meantime, on the front line, Random locked up by himself. A huge ultimate from Diana, and the exhaust had already gone down, but Random still going. It's a 2-for-2 overall, or 1-for-2 rather, as Random is the only casualty. They take down Vex and Yekui in the same time. This now might mean that Rix can get a double whammy objective. Bit of a win from them after what was a bit of a shaky early game.
Yeah, and the thing that happened that fight was that Random was able to get 2 or 3 stacks on Darius for free. As we look into this fight, he was already able to get 3 stacks, even 4 stacks on the Garen without getting low. Unfortunately, he got exhausted and changed his because he was in a 1 versus 3 situation. But this shows the potential of Rix Gaming's composition. If they are able to buy enough time for Random to stack up in these team fights, he's just going to absolutely hard carry the team fights. And we saw him do it before. And this is going to be the game plan for Rix. But Na'Vi has really good tools to shut it down.
Oh,
No.
What a guess from Xiao, just literally blind into the brush.
Wow.
Don't think he really expected them to be there, and immediately popped the charm to make sure that he could convert on the kill. Brilliant play from Xiao, just to even go for the attempt there.
Yeah, Clue is having a really rough time in this match. I believe he's 0-3 or even 0. Yeah, I believe he's 0-3 in this game right now. It's going to be really hard for him to provide a lot of value in this game because he's just very behind. He's going to be very squishy. It's going to be under-leveled, and he really needs to get something back. He really needs to be able to get some kills, get some assists, farm up, because Xiao is going to have more gold than Clue right there, and he's playing the Rakan as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how Rick is going to be playing around that round, because I still haven't seen him provide any value during this team fight. It's gone.
Yeah, I think it's been difficult for Clue so far. I think mostly because he's kind of been caught out by himself for the most part, though. I don't really think he's had... I'll be fair to him. I don't know if he's had massive opportunity to show the value of Braun, because for the most part, he's just been getting killed by himself before the team fights have even broken out. So I think we have to, let's wait and see. Maybe a couple of team fights around the upcoming objectives, he'll get a bit more value out.
Yeah, and I also want to talk about some of the summoner spells, which is Exhaust. We have Exhaust on both sides, which I really like, honestly, especially the one on Doom. If he gets dived by the Lee Sin, by the Diana, by Garen even, he can just exhaust that champion and make the 1v1 a bit easier for him. And same on the opposite side, Hydra with the Exhaust, if he gets fully engaged by the Jace, by the Fiora, by the Darius, he can just exhaust that champion and buy a lot of time for his team. So I really like the pickups on these summoner spells by both teams, especially on the Dragon laners, because it's going to be very good in certain situations in this game.
We'll wait to see now. You can see that Yakui's overstepped, forced to flash away randoms there. Oh, he has to use 2 abilities to get it eventually, but now there is no recourse for Yekui. He does have the backup of his team, so it was a really nice stasis to buy enough time for his team to react there. Lots of flashes on Rick's burn for what was actually a good trade overall for Na'Vi.
Yeah, that was a good trade indeed, and Na'Vi have all their ultimates available, and we have another engage here, Excandro.
Attempted to pop the grand challenge onto 5 at 5. Very happy to just wave the Fiora off. Too tanky to really get much work done in that situation. And you can see now the rest of Na'Vi posturing around Baron, but I think it's very unlikely that we're going to see an attempted Baron take at this point in time. They are not strong enough. And even with SE7 showing himself on the bottom side of the map, it would be a difficult take overall versus the Ziggs.
It would be a difficult take to take the Baron, but they can take a fight. Na'Vi has all of their ultimates available. They have a lot of summoner spells as well, compared to Rick's Gaming, who have already used up 3 ultimates. And as I say, Ziggs' ultimate actually recharged up, and all of the ultimates are recharging up. So Na'Vi kind of missed an opportunity to take a fight. Rick's Gaming was missing 3 ultimates, but Na'Vi didn't take a fight. And now Rick's have their ultimates back up again, and it's going to be a fair fight again. And it's not even going to be a fair fight, because Rick's actually drops the Rift Herald to apply pressure on the top side, as well as pressure at the Dragon side.
Yeah, they're going to drop that on top side of the map. That should net them a free tower, and especially with the ability to just zone and delay with Ziggs, we could be looking at a Rift Herald that's going to get a significant amount of work done with a wave that I think is actually going to stack in favor of Rick's as well. If you look, the Rift Herald is working his way through that wave. He'll be absorbing a bit of the damage, and he should be able to build up a significant wave, pushing into maybe even that tier 2 tower. You can see, I think Rick's, they know that, and they're not going to overcommit to this Dragon at this point in time. We'll have to see how the fight breaks up. A little bit of a grouping up for Rick's on their red side jungle entrance, and now Na'Vi not messing around. They want to get straight onto this Dragon.
Yeah, and Rick's first had the advantage in the Dragon, but now it's Na'Vi, but a fight is inevitably going to happen.
Yeah, and Random immediately gets locked up, but that actually was a really good disengage coming out from Clue. Managed to get some work done, but a massive ultimate from Diana straight into the middle of the fight, and everybody getting torn apart. You can see the Doom desperately trying to bounce his way out. Vex finds his way onto the fight and manages to get there with a Sonic Wave, a red team double kill, but SE7 is hunting them down. Doesn't want to get too far into the fight, though, and will just end up backing off. It was a very even affair, but Na'Vi just about manages to get out on top.
Massive ultimate by Doom, massive ultimate by Yekui, massive ultimate by everyone. What a crazy fight. Both teams just showing their powers. And we have a crazy 1v1 against the Fiora. And here we see the power of the Fiora as well.
Oh,
that was close. That one was close, but there we can see how Fiora can counter out that Lee Sin, right? Lee Sin goes on the Fiora, Fiora uses her ripos, but now we look back into the fight, and I want to highlight the ultimates, especially the one from Doom and from Yakui. Also from Hydro, by the way, but firstly we see Doom's ultimate, which is gonna happen in a few seconds, and just take a look at how many enemies he hits with it. He throws it in the middle of them, absolutely destroys the Rakan. Then we get an amazing ultimate by Yakui, hitting 4 people, and then after that, Varus as well, following up with his ultimate a little earlier. And look at this, it's just so close. Both teams picking up those kills and Vex cleaning up afterwards, abusing the power of Lee Sin in those situations. Just both teams showing their power, showing that they're very close to each other.
I think that's what we wanted to see from these two teams, Na'Vi versus WREC. We expected them to come blow for blows. Na'Vi definitely look like they've improved since last week, though. Definitely look like they've really shaped up since their outing versus Entropic. And I think really providing a significant challenge. Right now, WREC are ever so slightly ahead, but it's 2 major objectives in favor of Na'Vi. And WREC are only just about winning out on towers at this point in time, with that mid lane tower really being the only thing standing between them and a major advantage for Na'Vi. Of course, we have to think about a potential catch onto Vex here. Actually forced the kick out onto Random, tries to pop the GA, but he won't quite get away with it.
He's at 1 HP.
I know, literally that safeguard gets him out. Vex's GA will stay intact for the time being. Great wave management by Na'Vi, by the way. You can constantly see that bot lane is a real nuisance for WREC. They have to send someone down there all the time to deal with it.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing that I want to talk about is Doom on the Ziggs right here. He's reached the level 13 point and he has some items to provide ability haste. We saw him use his ultimate a few seconds ago and it's already 75% charged. So yeah, Fiora going on the Garen, probably not going to get anything out of it because it's a Garen. But Ziggs, or Doom already has his ultimate ready on the Ziggs, and this is a power that Ziggs has. He can just abuse that in the late game. He can abuse it. He can constantly throw it around, constantly poke around the enemy, and get away with it because he's just going to have it up for the next fight again, Alexandro.
Where will the next fight be? I mean, we have the Infernal Drake spawning soon. We're 18 minutes into this game now, Hells, and honestly, it has been toe-to-toe the entire way. We are 18 minutes in, and it is a 500 gold lead that separates these two teams. And to put that into context, that means absolute squat. It is nothing. Really means nothing right now. You can see the Vex hanging around randomly in this. He's waiting for the Rift Scuttler spawn. He wants to have that resource available should that Infernal Drake come to light in the next few minutes. He wants to have at least some vision on the area, scout out where vision's going down, but also just have control of probably the most important objective around that river area in the next sort of coming minutes of this game.
Yeah, and if we look at the vision game, Na'Vi's vision game is much better than WREC's game, and that is also granting them the advantage right now. As we can see, Na'Vi is just wandering around in the river easily, and WREC cannot really enter anything without being spotted, because as we can see, Random is being spotted in the bot side as well now, and Na'Vi can decide to go aggressive now. They have much more vision. They have 5 wards on the bottom side. As you can see, WREC's even desperately going, but I have no time to talk, Excalibur.
Oh my god, they're just so good at making catches before major objectives, and that is a big one onto Snitch, who has been hit time and time again by the rest of Na'Vi, and Na'Vi now want more. They're trying to go for Clue. A brilliant kick onto Doom. It was great from Vex, and a mistimed ultimate from Clue does mean that Doom is forced out of the fight, but survives for the time being. It is a huge win for Na'Vi. Vex absolutely stepping up when the occasion needed him. Brilliant kick.
Exactly, and this is what the vision game does. WREC had no idea what to do, and they go in again.
And they go, I think Random's just dead. WREC put under the gun here by Na'Vi. They're a bit of a split in terms of what they want to achieve, and they will trade for Doom. Should be able to get this Baron. A couple of low members here and there, but realistically, this will be the objective that goes in the favor of Na'Vi, and WREC will take a tower for it in response. Whether SC7 can get more out of this, I don't think so, but nonetheless, it is a big win for Na'Vi.
Yeah, and the vision game, WREC was desperate right there. They were absolutely desperate, trying to face check bushes, Doom using his ultimate to check whether or not Na'Vi was rushing down the Baron, just wasting all of these resources. Meanwhile, Na'Vi knew exactly where the members of WREC were. They knew how to counter it, and the amazing engage from Vex, which pushed Doom right in the middle of the team. Just Na'Vi really setting up all these objectives perfectly, and they're actually trying to go for this Elder Infernal Dragon, Alexandra.
They have the death timers to work with right now. They don't have Yakui, but we're going to see some teleports coming through. Was this an overreach from Na'Vi? It is a low HP dragon. Can they keep this alive with the double teleport coming through? I'm sure Yakui will have his own teleport to work with. That was enough to stop the Dragon going through. I liked the aggression, the decisiveness from Na'Vi, but didn't quite manage to have the time to make it work.
Yeah, but they also wasted some of the gold from WREC Gaming. We shouldn't forget about that, right? When you sell an item, you lose 30% of its gold, and they forced Doom, and Doom sold another item yet again, by the way. So they actually wasted quite a lot of gold from WREC with that tiny little play right there. Potentially even 1,500 gold, and we have another engage.
Kick onto Clue. They're trying to punish Vex for it, but he will not be able to, as SC7's now the target, has to use his Proto Belt to get away. Vex, time and time again, finding picks through extreme mechanical capabilities, and there is nothing that Riggs could do it. Do you know what? I'm gonna do a direct meme here. Assassin Dave. This is why Lee Sin is picked for late game. This is why Lee Sin's good, as the engage comes through from the Diana, the teleport coming through as well to back him up with Phi. And Ricks are just being battered from engage after engage after engage. They cannot compete right now with Na'Vi.
Wow, and this is what we talked about. Vex on that Lee Sin, just in the early game, sure, didn't do too much, but the late game, look at what he's doing, and Ricks is desperately going to try to take this Dragon.
Dude gets it! He outsmites Vex with the ulti. They're just going to desperately try and get themselves away from the fight right now. They know they just need to hold on. Yekwi dives in, uses the stasis as Doom buys time. SC7 takes one. Is he going to take two? He's going for it, but there's the Guardian Angel. Na'Vi, their dreams, their hopes shattering in front of their eyes as SC7 riposts, dives back into the fight. Snitch trying to do it. He takes another one. Snitch jumps in. I can't believe what I'm seeing from Ricks right now. It's absolutely disgusting as Snitch somehow finds his way back into the fight. Clue buys some time. Doom. Oh my word. What have I just seen?
No way, Xgarro. What happened? Did the red team ace? Did Ricks just ace Na'Vi? Are they gonna finish the game? They just won. They won a game that was seemingly lost. They won. They just won. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Doom stealing away the Dragon.
Didn't even need to tap the Nexus. Didn't even need to tap the Nexus. The minions did the work for them. I can't believe what I just saw at the end of that game. That felt like it was doomed. That felt like it was like they lost the Infernal, but Doom steals the Infernal, and you could just see it shattered the ranks of Na'Vi. They had no idea what they wanted to do after that fight. They thought, like, obviously, whenever you lose an objective that size, your immediate response is, sugar, we better like fight. We better force the fight in that situation. They tried to force the fight. We have a look at some of the replays in the early game. It was really much, Na'Vi controlling the pace of the game here.
Yes. It was all Na'Vi. The whole game was Na'Vi. Throughout the early game, mid game, late game, it was pretty much all Na'Vi. They were, not quite dominating, but showing that they had the edge in this game. And they were also showing that in the late game, we're going to destroy you regardless. They won the vision game. They won the macro game. They won the lane pushing game. They won every single game in this game. But then they lost the most important one, which was the Elder Infernal Dragon, which was snatched away by Doom, which I'm sure we're going to be seeing in the highlights as well. And they just straight up lost the game. That truly shows how punishing a game like Wild Rift can be when you have a game-ending objective like the Baron or the Elder Dragon. If it gets stolen away from you, you can just lose the game, regardless of absolutely dominating earlier on, Xgarro.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I'll be completely fair. It was a close game. It was just that Na'Vi had the better setup around objectives.
Yeah.
But it was a close game in terms of gold, right? The item spikes can't have been that different. We were looking at this point in the game, 22 minutes into the game, it's 600 gold separating the two teams at 22 minutes into the game. So clearly both the teams had the gold to work with, but this was that fight. I can't believe SE7, man. What an absolute beast this guy is. Like, I know that he didn't make the steal happen, but the way that SC7 played that final fight, that's going to be montage worthy for the rest of Wild Rift Esports history. Like, just constantly finding the angle to take an individual pick here and there. I love how a Hydro just like basically honorable seppuku onto the Ricks mid minefield that Doom set up, because he just knew there was no way out for him. That was insane.
Look at the scores. 7-on-1 for SC7, 0-5 for Random. It's completely the opposite from the first series.
SC7 deserves that, man. He played incredibly well. Doom obviously pumped out classic Ziggs damage, but SC7, absolute beast this game. Absolutely insane. Big steal for Doom, obviously, in the late game on that Dragon. Well-timed ultimate from him, but what a great game. That's exactly what we wanted.
What an absolutely great game. Honestly, look at this gold graph. Just look at it. But I want to say, though, don't let it it's not as bad as it seems. It's only 1 or 1.5k gold difference. So basically one team has the edge, then the other one, then the other one. It's not as dramatic as it looks really. The game was very close, so don't let this graph make it look that dramatic. The game was very close, and then WREC Gaming just snatching away the Elder Dragon. I'm still shocked. I'm actually still shocked.
I barely know what to say. I think I need a breather. I think you need a breather. I think everyone needs a breather. So let's take one. We'll see you. Oh, wait a second. We've got player of the game. Actually, I was about to get ahead of myself. I was.
What is it going to be?
Mental. But I think we know what the player of the game is going to be. Let's take a look at that player of the game. It's got to be the Elder Steel into what was just an insane fight by SE7.
Yeah, definitely. So let's take a look at it. And yeah, it's the Elder still. And right after the Elder got stolen, it felt like the souls from Na'Vi got stolen as well, because they just desperately wanted to look for this fight, as you can see, doing a pretty bad dive into WREC, and then SE7 on that Fiora in a 1 versus 5 situation, getting a kill, surviving, and getting another kill as well. And that snitch from the backline shooting us like, just look at SE7, the mad lad in a 1 versus 4 situation, getting a kill and getting away. Sure, he died, but he was able to proc 2 more Guardian Angels as well, and just WREC Gaming finished the game, man. Unbelievable. Absolutely.
I want to give credit to Snitch and Doom, by the way, especially to Doom. I think Doom played that fight really well as well. But they were hammering in artillery. On wherever SE7 was, they were hammering in shock blasts, hammering in bombs, and just making it difficult to navigate those fights for Na'Vi. So really well played by WREC overall. But of course, that early game, maybe something to look back on in their series, and maybe look to see if they can get much better grip on the game, because Na'Vi could have very easily won that if it wasn't for what was an insane final team fight from WREC. But now I need a breather. Now I need to take a little bit of a step back and think about what's coming in that next game, because it was a long one for Wild Rift's standards on that first game of the series. We'll see you very shortly.
ready?
Welcome back to the Wild Rift European Championship. What an insane game that we had to start things off here. I don't think we could have asked for anything better than we got from that Rix versus Na'Vi game right there. As Hells was saying in the break, it'd be great to see Na'Vi bounce back because I would just love to be treated to 3 games of this for the remainder of this series. What an insanely awesome game, and what a way to demonstrate just how awesome Wild Rift Esports can be as well. It was tooth and nail all the way through. Hells, now you've had a time to think about it and process it. What are you feeling?
What am I feeling? I mean, what am I not feeling after that game? That was crazy. That was crazy. I absolutely loved that game. Just so high level. The game was so high level, right? Like you can tell when a game is like super high level or just normal high level. And we've had high level games, but this was next level. We can clearly see, these are the titans. These teams are going to destroy any of the other teams because the gameplay that they just showed today is just absolutely amazing. The macro game and just everything. So that's what I'm feeling about this game right now.
It's pretty insane. I think we need to take someone who's a bit more objective, a bit more removed from the action, to see what Stu has to say about this and what we can expect in the next games of this series.
Thank you very much, Egg Scoundrel. Yeah, what an absolute crazy first game. Throughout the whole game, it was just so close to goalie. But I want to go back to all the way back at the beginning, at the draft. I want to talk about the WREC.GG's AP priority. They picked Ziggs in the first rotation, and they were banning out the AP dual lane carries for the side of Na'Vi. So they were kind of forced into this Diana Varus composition, which did work quite well for them. But on the side of Na'Vi, they were focusing more on the supports. We're picking Rakan and also banning out the supports away from Clue. And then we have the focus around the dual lane. This whole game felt like it was just all across the dual lane. Random and Fee both just on an island in the top lane this game, and all the action was on the dual lane, whether it was that level 2 gank, whether it was them trying to Na'Vi trying to shut down Snitch as well in the dual lane. It was just absolutely incredible, and the setups around objectives. Na'Vi played it really well as setup, so they were kind of first on the page. They were able to catch out Clue as well on multiple occasions, but Doom in the end, he might not be able to hit smites when he's played in jungle, but put this guy on Ziggs, he can use his ultimate and he can take the objectives and win the game for his team. So that's my key points. Back to Scoundrel and Hells for what's going to be an exciting game too.
Wow, I think Stu said it's very difficult to really sum up what happened that game in just a short amount of time like that. We really need to see how it's going to pan out in the draft phase. I think also then see how Na'Vi and how Rix maybe adjust their approaches. I think Na'Vi had the good approach in the early game, but it was just a problem of capitalizing on what they were able to achieve. Whereas Rix, they were really good at just cross-mapping and taking objectives where they were losing out on other areas. So even when we saw 3 or 4 man dives on Snitch, it was always something that Rix was doing elsewhere that was keeping them level and keeping them relevant. And that relevancy is what allowed them to compete for things like the Elder Inferno later in the game.
Yeah, exactly. Even though Na'Vi seemed to have the advantage, Rix was always able to make a comeback in gold. And also, Rix was able to maintain more turrets than Na'Vi. Rix was constantly pushing those turrets with the Rift Powers as well. And we're going to be seeing that in the next game as well, as we're going to be heading into the picks and bans. And this is going to be even more interesting now, because what is going to be picked and what is going to be banned? Are the focus is going to be around that Lee Sin, the Fiora? Because we saw those champions provide a lot of value in the last game as well.
Yeah, I think Fiora is almost certainly going to be a ban. I think Na'Vi have opted for red side again here. So Na'Vi have opted in to be on red side. They think that's giving them more value in terms of last pick capabilities, which is always nice when you're looking for counter picks. I would not be surprised to see both Yuumi and also Fiora on the ban list this time around. SE7 can't be getting his hands on that pick. I wouldn't be surprised to see Rix pivot and actually ban away Lee Sin, or think about first picking it either.
Definitely, because we know Vex is incredibly good on Lee Sin, right? But he's also incredibly good on Fiora. He's also incredibly good on some other champions. So it's a bit hard to ban out champions against Vex, but definitely. And yeah, it's basically the same bans. Sett, Yuumi, Jax, Corki. I feel both teams are kind of shaking hands on the draft because they were both fine with the draft, as we saw in last game. It was not about the draft really, except for the prompt. But it was mostly about the macro game. And yeah, literally the exact same bans. So are we going to see the same picks as well? I don't think so. because then you're going to be open. Well, we are, I guess. We see the Fiora as well, and it's
I
big
think
left
Fiora's
open.
too good of a first pick, right? Because it's flexible. You can go jungle or Baron lane.
Again.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess. I mean, Vex maybe goes for Lee Sin in this situation. It was the standard draft response they had previously. I think often when you think that you've got the correct strategy in draft, like maybe you kind of adhere to it. But the Rakan will be the early pickup here for Na'Vi to maybe give themselves some thoughts later in the draft about what they want, maybe in the jungle and other roles.
It's the same. They're drafting the same. I feel like this is dangerous example because WREC and Na'Vi can now expect what's going to be picked from both sides and think more about how to counter it. And although last game was very close, what is going to be picked here? Honestly, I'm left clueless as well. As an analyst as well, I'm left clueless. I have no idea what WREC is going to be picking. Riven! They picked the Riven! There it is. That's the surprise pick that we wanted to see. Riven is going to be played. And we saw Riven be played in NA. And I want to mention this, by the way. Tarzan playing it in NA. They played it with a hyper carry composition. So are we gonna see the Lulu being picked? Are we gonna see an enchanter like the Janna or the Nami? Because hyper carry Riven is incredibly powerful if played correctly, and it's gonna be nearly impossible to kill in the late game.
Really interesting because Riven's not traditionally one of those characters that, or those champions that can be played in a hyper carry facility because she's not really attack speed dependent. And yeah, it's very interesting. But I think the flexibility that it offers is it can go to random or it could go to SE7. So it keeps Na'Vi guessing about that. The problem with Darius is that you were no longer guessing where the Fiora was going. You were no longer guessing where the Riven was going because you knew that Darius was going Baron lane. This time round, you have that flexibility between Riven and Fiora that you're just about guessing about which one's going to be your way. I think they're going to go for the Lee Sin. I think they were hoping to get some more information here, but they'll have to go with Lee Sin. He's pretty solid. In most scenarios, we have talked about the fact that obviously Fiora into Lee Sin is a relatively good matchup for Fiora, but I think overall, Na'Vi were just hoping to get some different information. They weren't treated to anything different and have just stuck with what they went with last game.
They do have a fine draft though. Yet again, like this is fine. It's not the best, but it's fine. You know, that they can pick off the 6 with the Lee Sin. They have the Rakan to dive the 6. It's going to be interesting to see what WREC decides to counter them with this time. And this time, Na'Vi actually bans out the Jace. So Stinch is not going to be able to pick the Jace in the mid lane. And I want to talk about an interesting pick, which is Zed, for example. Zed hasn't been picked. I don't remember if it was banned in the first game, but Zed is not being picked right here. And Zed got buffed this patch because Electrocute got buffed, which is a massive buff for Zed. He's going to be able to utilize that buff a lot. So are we going to see a potential Zed pick from either teams right here?
We're just redoing picks and bans as far as I'm aware because there was a bit of an issue with the pickings. So we'll have to wait to see exactly where we are with that. I think Zed's an interesting one. It's a little bit risky. I think especially when you're running a Fiora and a Riven, it's a relatively risky thing to go for a Zed randomly. I think though, I'm thinking, sorry, dad genes getting the better of me here, not getting much sleep.
Even after that game?
Yeah, legitimately, waking up at 5 a.m. every day for my son. You know, I think I'm looking at it saying, well, I would ban Varus and Orianna. Like, I'd ban Varus and Orianna. It takes away Varus was a problem for your Ziggs in the mid lane. Yeah. It then like means that you have to go for Morgana or you have to go for Brand. And I think Brand and Morgana are significantly less impactful, in my opinion, than Varus. But let's see where we get to. Obviously, we've got to redo those picks and bans. I think we have to stay the same up until where we were. So I believe that's the case in terms of staying the same. But in terms of what you're seeing from the drafts, which one are you kind of liking more based on what we've seen so far?
It's a bit hard to decide, honestly. I like the Riven pick, but I hope that WREC is going to pick some good champions. As I said, I saw it in NA and it worked really well, the hyper carry Riven pick. And that did wonders. That really did wonders. Because if you leave a Riven alone, it's a bit hard and she's prone to CC. Like if Na'Vi picks a lot of CC and they have the Lee Sin as well, which can just push away the Riven when she ults, it's going to be a little hard to utilize her powers in a composition. So it's going to be interesting to see how WREC decides to draft around that Riven and how Na'Vi decides to draft against the Riven. So yeah, they're picking the same picks as you said as well. And then up until this point, I believe, there were issues. Oh, it was not a Riven. It was a Darius that was picked actually. So it was the exact same draft. That's why we redid the draft. And it's the exact same draft. It's just exactly 100% the same.
This is exactly the same, just the order of the Rakan and the order of the Lee Sin slightly changed here. So it is identical drafts all round. Jace is getting banned away this time round, though. As you can see, Na'Vi banning Jace this time. Let's see where RICS have gone. This is the point that we got up to. This ban here is what we were waiting for RICS to do. Diana. So I feel like you're either going to be going Orianna or Varus now with your next ban. I feel like Orianna is the more sensible choice here. And if you have to face into Varus, you have to face into Varus.
Exactly. If you ban out Diana is a really solid pick into the Orianna. You kind of want to ban out Orianna as well, because Orianna is a really good counter against that Ziggs. Orianna can dash out damage as well, back to the Ziggs. They actually banned the Zed away. They used to ban the Zed away. We talked about that as well. Yeah, that's very interesting indeed.
Maybe they think that they could get on Orianna. Maybe they thought they could play Orianna mid and put Doom on the AP carry bot. And you've already got AD threats with Darius and Fiora. That's the Orianna though, prioritized by Hydra. You thought it would be the case if it wasn't banned, and it does get taken away here.
Exactly. That's what I always like to talk about in these competitive drafts. When Diana gets banned out, Orianna gets picked, and it seems like my internet is having some issues with my camera. I don't know what's happening with my camera, but I should be back very soon.
We're just reliving hells from like 2018. So don't worry about it, mate. This is, if anyone has known you for years, this is what we're used to. Nami, that's interesting. Nami comes through from RICS. Now let's see what their final pickup is. Obviously, it's likely to be a mid laner, but we could also see something like a bit of a curveball and stick Ziggs mid and then have like Varus spot for Doom here. We could see something a little bit more aggressive, maybe try and take advantage of the Orianna in the laning phase. It's a bit of a curveball coming out for RICS at this point in time.
Yeah, the draft has changed a little bit, and that's because of the bans that Navi and RICS gave. I feel that Navi has quite a strong draft though this time, and Renekton actually, not Renekton. Where the hell is Renekton go? Renekton mid lane. We have a Renekton mid lane, Darius Baron lane, Fiora jungle. They have a lot of bruisers. What do you want to pick against bruisers? What is Navi gonna do, Extandro?
Well, I guess they're thinking, well, we've drafted Orianna, so like they're going to have to pick some kind of AD threat mid. I mean, I feel that this could be okay. Yeah, they've debated them. They've basically said, nope, Orianna's going mid. Good luck playing Darius or Renekton into Orianna in the mid lane, and we're going to play Kai'Sa in the bot lane. So they kind of baited them out with that Orianna pick, and weirdly enough, RICS chose to go for what I would always consider a counter pick in mid. Like I would consider Darius and Renekton mid as counter picks. And I feel like they've tried to out 5-head themselves in this draft.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, I kind of like Navi's draft though, because Garen is going to be able to spin around freely, stacking up those Black Cleaver stacks. And then Kai'Sa as well, going to be able to do a lot of damage and run away from those bruisers. Orianna too, dealing damage from a long distance. They're going to be able to shred through these bruisers. It's not like these bruisers are going to be able to stay alive, like my camera right now. But they're going to be able to shred right through them, Excalibur.
Absolutely. I'm sorry that I'm honestly, like, I need to get a coffee or something. This is Scoundrel Dad. Like, Hells is on the way out with his internet. Scoundrel's dad life is kicking in for him at literally like 2 PM, by the way. Anyway, second game in this RICS versus Na'Vi series. I'm really excited about this one. I think we've got an excellent game on our hands, as we saw from the first. And maybe Na'Vi can level this series out and bring us to 1-1 so that we have that all-important final game of the series to play as well. I want to keep seeing Wild Rift like this. The teams that are playing right now are absolutely insane, and some of the plays they're making are just incredible. So really, really interested to see how this game pans out, Hells. And I'm kind of I feel like I'm favoring Na'Vi a little bit. I think they really played that draft well, and I do feel that RICS for some reason tried to draft counter in mid when they didn't even know what was going mid. So yeah, really, really well played, and we are into game. So RICS versus Na'Vi. It is Renekton into Orianna mid. It's not the best for Snitch. He has to be super careful about this matchup, even though I think Renekton in general is a super powerful pick. You can see he will have to be and will be zoned away by Yekui. And in the bot lane, it's Doom and Clue, Na'Vi and the Nami. And Doom just able to trade back nicely against Hydro. Hydro steps up on that Kai'Sa and will get punished with a bomb to the face. Random again in a tough matchup with the Garen. It is hard for a Darius at this stage in the game. You really can't out-trade the bonk on the head with the grasp proc. It's just impossible in a lot of scenarios to do that. You see that SE7 is coming to provide a little bit of support in the mid lane. They are going all in and actually forcing Snitch to back away. There is the Ignite under tower. Red team first blood. And that is a huge win. Massive bait by Xiao to make that move towards the mid lane when they saw SC7 come through. And brilliant start for the Na'Vi boys. That's exactly what they would have wanted.
Yeah, there we go. That's the Vex that we know. Just ganking at ganking at minute 1. He's getting the kill this time on the Lee Sin. Yet again, quite an unpredictable kill. But Snitch playing that Renekton in the mid lane, that's the dangers of it. You're a melee champion playing up against Yakui on the Orianna. This is what we talked about. Yakui is going to have a free lane. Snitch is not going to be able to engage. And Random is going to go. No, he's not going to get it. So Fi being able to outtrade Random in the short term, but he doesn't want to take the long-term fight against Random. Because if you get those stacks on Darius, you win the fight.
Good start overall. The chat believes right now that RECs are going to win 61% to 39%. I wouldn't be so sure. I think Na'Vi have shown a lot of fight in the early game. And really, I want to draw this attention back to Vex here, Hells. He's been the catalyst, I think, for Na'Vi's success. Obviously, I mean, it's always hard in late game smite fights. I'm not going to blame Vex too much for that. But he really was the man driving this team forward with those kicks and those plays in the early game.
Yeah, I want to talk about those predictions too, because during the first game, it was, I believe, 86% for RECs, and now we only have 61% for RECs. So the tides have changed a little bit. More people are leaning towards Na'Vi after that first game performance, and I get it. I understand it, because Na'Vi showed an amazing performance in the first game, and I feel they're going to do the same in this game, as they're already ahead in this game, and they do have a very strong late game composition as well.
They really do. I think both teams have got good late game scaling champions, though, to be fair, Hells. I think both teams have got like good late, right? I think like you've got Ziggs in really good scaling, Fiora really good scaling, but then you have Kai'Sa, you have Orianna, and to an extent Garen, in terms of the role that he's providing, scales pretty well into the late game. I think the thing we need to think about is like, how do these team fights play out as this game progresses, right? And my only worry for RECs is that you have these like really beefy frontliners that are just going to be so vulnerable to Orianna as this game scales up.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly. That's what we talked about. Indeed. Like, sure, you have a lot of bruisers. Sure. But are they really going to be able to be tanky against that Orianna? Are they really going to be able to be tanky against Garen's ultimate or Lee Sin's ultimate dealing percentage HP damage? No, they're not. Same to Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa's passive as well deals percentage HP damage. And if Kai'Sa goes for a Runan's Hurricane in the mid-late game, they're just going to be able to shred right through those bruisers X-counters. So I honestly really feel like Na'Vi has outplayed RECs in the draft, but RECs still has Doom on the Ziggs. And we know what can happen when that happens, right? Doom is going to deal a lot of damage. So regardless of the draft, seemingly being in the favor of Na'Vi, they still have Ziggs.
Exactly, and Ziggs, you could see how much damage he pumped out in the last game. Just by himself, single-handedly carrying some of these team fights in terms of what he was able to do. Going to see a handshake trade here. Na'Vi, instead of trying to go for the drag... Oh, I mean, we said that. That's very interesting from RECs, in my opinion, because we have an engage by Random already. The exhaust comes through. He's not going to commit too much further than that, and Doom should be able to ward them away. That was a wild attempt from Random and Clue to get a double whammy on the objectives.
Yeah, definitely. They just shook hands, and I feel like RECs doesn't really want to deal with Na'Vi's team fight in the early game, especially with that Lee Sin. So they just took the Rift Herald. They want to get an advantage in one of the lanes, and it's going to be interesting to see which lane they're going to do it. I really think they're going to do mid lane, because mid lane is the most important turret, and now especially because you have the Renekton in the mid lane. He already has a rough matchup. He's 500 gold behind on Yakui, because he's playing against the Orianna. So I really feel like RECs is going to look to get that mid lane turret, just to be able to push the Orianna back a little bit.
Obviously, the REC strategy has been utilizing Doom to kind of make those minion waves, especially mid and top, in a good state so that they could potentially take objectives. I think something that we didn't get to touch on because of the action in the last game is, if we think all the way back to that Rift Herald play around the Dragon that set up a really nice push in the top side of the map, that came back to haunt Na'Vi in late game, because by the time that the Elder went down and that teamfight concluded, the inhibitor had gone, and there were minions knocking on the Nexus door that RECs was able to basically win the game off straight away without even touching the Nexus. What one could say that regardless of what happened in that team fight, Na'Vi were on the very sort of doorstep of getting taken out of the game by minions alone. We have Random forced in with the kick here. He's going to get immediately charmed up, and that was a beautiful bit of synergy Doom should be able to clear the way for the time being, but they are going to use the Rift Herald to try and take that tower, get a first tower of the game. You can see desperately Rix are trying to respond here, but it is going to be straight onto Fee. He gets dived on, he gets slapped on, and he gets taken down by Snidge under the tower. That should allow this mid lane tier 1 to get dropped with Doom having that Hextech Sexual Charge, and we'll be able to get that tower down. That was a really lovely response from Rix, honestly. I didn't think it was going to work out, Hells, but it did.
Navi did the exact same thing as they tried to do in the first game, which is trying to apply pressure on the lane and take that first turret. They did get a kill in the Baron lane, and they did get the turret, but Rix indeed answered quite well to it. And although they did have to use the Rift Herald for it, they got the mid lane turret, right? And Navi still comes out on top. But the mid lane turret has been taken now. And as I said, Snitch is going to have a much easier time in the mid lane now if he roams around to it again. Because Orianna is not going to have a turret anymore. She cannot be as aggressive. So Snitch is going to have a much easier time farming up in that mid lane.
7 minutes into the game, and it's Na'Vi that have the slight lead here. Ever so slight lead, but they have lost that mid lane tower, which now always provides, as you mentioned, a couple of benefits for Doom, but also it provides a bit of an issue for Na'Vi looking after their own jungle entrances as well. This now allows for some more aggressive vision control, and you can be much more willing to push aggressively into the Na'Vi side. You can see the Yakui, yeah, Random getting chunked up again, actually forced to flash away. That's the exhaust coming out from Hydro. Random, you can see he's become the target for Na'Vi across these games. He has really been prioritized by both teams in terms of like trying to get him stuck and limit his gold income.
Okay, a few things I want to talk about now that we're seeing how much gold everyone has. Xiao is 1,000 gold ahead of Clue. 1,000 gold, which is huge on a support. He has a full item already and is going to be building an enchantment as well. He's going to be significantly stronger during the second dragon. Second thing I want to talk about is Clue going for the shadows. I really like him going for that enchantment because their composition relies on catching out an enemy, which the shadows are going to be able to do. If you slow Orianna with the shadows, your bruises are going to catch up to them, right? Like Darius is going to hook her back, or Renekton is going to stun her. So the shadow pickup on Nami is what I really like about Rix's composition, and it's what's going to potentially allow them to get those catches in the mid and late game.
And then again, getting targeted ever so slightly here. He's not having a good time of it. I will say, though, he is ahead of Fee in terms of gold income right now. They're trying to engage onto the Snitch, who's forced to dive away. Brilliant disengage. Good bubble from Clue. How can they capitalize on this? The Snitch jumps in. They have that healing coming through from SE7, but he's completely isolated. Fails the flash across the wall, but here comes Random. Pulls them in. Tries to get the stacks built up. Doesn't quite find the execute onto Fee, who will escape with a sliver of HP. But somehow Rix again pull that situation out and are now taking down the second dragon of the game.
Yeah, no one has ultimates available left. Vex is desperately trying to go for this. They're actually coming in with the teleport, and this may go to their favor, Scoundrel.
They may, but they actually get it smited away. Flashes across the wall. Random now probably... Whoa! Did they just let... No. He's going to get taken down. Surely going to get taken down. Tries to heal up. Can't quite make it happen. Doom might have enough in the tank to clear this wave mid, and actually the best response that I think Na'Vi have got is to go for that second Rift Herald.
Go for that second Rift Herald. Rix has gotten 2 dragons already, and they've gotten Rift Heralds, so Na'Vi is in a bit of a tight spot, even though they're actually 2,000 gold ahead. As we look into this replay, Snitch actually going in and attacking up a lot of damage, doing a great job with that. Clue doing a lot with his abilities as well. Just Rix really playing this fight very well. Meanwhile, Doom is standing in the backline, dashing out those bombs, dealing a lot of damage, and while it is not that much damage yet, this type of team fighting is what's going to get Rix through the late game. It's keeping Doom safe, using Snitch to go in and tank up some damage, and then using some of the other bruises to tank up some damage as well. That's what's going to win them the game.
Random chasing down Fee once more. Warded away by a Sonic Wave. You can see Snitch is going to give up that bot lane tier 1 for the time being. It's 2v1 down there. And actually, because of the resources thrown on that bottom side of the map, it is going to be the second Rift Herald that's now started, and I think eventually taken here by Rix. So Na'Vi just slipping in terms of global objectives. They still remain in top when it comes to... oh, wait a second, though. Trying to go straight on to Clue. Clue does get focused down. Doom trying to buy some time. Doom does buy some time. And Clue manages to escape in this situation, forces the flash out of Vex, who's now over the wall, but here's Random.
The blast comb!
And I think Vex is going to drop here. He'll go down to SE7.
Wait, I want to talk about that, Scoundrel.
Do it.
SE7 used the blast comb, the red fruit, to proc his riposte to stun Vex. Oh my god, if we can get a replay of that, that would be amazing, because Vex knew that Lee Sin was going to use the blast comb. He blocked it with his riposte and he aimed it in a certain way to still be able to hit Vex with it, and he stunned him. What a crazy play by SC7. It may seem like a subtle play, but that was absolutely crazy. He just did it perfectly.
And REC's just somehow keeping themselves in the game. That was a very aggressive play by Hydro onto Doom. Procs the Blade of the Ruined King, but I'm going to give credit to Doom where it's due. Some of these satchel charges in both games have been absolutely excellent. Just gets himself out of danger almost every single time. Let's take a look back at that, Hells.
Yeah, definitely. As you can see, he stunned him with the riposte. So that was just amazing. He stunned him with the riposte. Just SC7 showing class on that Fiora, showing what he's built of. And yeah, we have Random here potentially looking for an engage, and he wants some blood. He didn't taste blood in the first game because he was 0-5, but now he's looking for blood, Scoundrel.
He's absolutely out for blood right now. And I think deservedly so. He's had a rough couple of games in this series. He's really been sort of, I think, focused down by the Na'Vi roster. Fee has consistently picked what I like to call a neutralizing pick as well. Like, Garen is just such a difficult pick to play against because it's just so difficult to punish a Garen in lane. If he doesn't want to interact with you, he doesn't have to interact with you. And that's been something that Random's been struggling with, I think. Just, you know, Garen is like a brick wall. You really can't punch through it that hard.
It's been like a brick wall. It's crazy. He's just not dying, really. He's just playing the game, tanking up some damage, soaking up some damage, and not really dying. SC7 is truly the only one that can chunk him down fast with those true damage procs. And then in the late game, obviously, Doom is going to be able to deal a lot of damage as well on that Ziggs.
SC7, again, kind of the hero of the REC's roster in the previous game, along with Doom. They really single-handedly pulled a game back from the absolute edges. Now, Xiao, they knew he was there. They saw him walk over the walls. They're going to try and get straight onto Clues, force the flash across the wall, uses a disengage. Great bubble as well. Straight on to Yekwi, who gets dropped down, and now Hydro uses his ultimate to try and escape the grasps as SC7, but SC7 finds the kill. A double kill for him, and the dunks start coming through. RECs have done playing around. They're done messing with Na'Vi, and they're out for blood as they push them back into their own base on the eve of the third dragon.
Oh, what an amazing fight by REC's Gaming, just showing them we are still going to be tanky. We can still win those fights. And although I feel like they did make one mistake, which is not giving Random his reset, because they got a free kill, basically. And what you want to do when you have a Darius in your team is give that kill to Darius. Let Darius secure that kill with his ultimate, especially because it was a free kill, so Darius can get his full stacks. And if they can do this throughout the late game, so if you look at the replay here, SC7 caught out Xiao, but I want to focus on Darius right there. So as you can see, they got the Orianna right there, and that was a moment where they could have dunked the Orianna and gotten the full stacks on Random, which could have been which could have allowed them to kill pretty much everyone very easily. So it's going to be interesting to see how REC's is going to take those later fights. And as we talk, there is another fight.
Another fight here, as you can see, SE7 just by himself battering away at that brick wall of the Garen. There's been a Rift Herald drop on the bottom side of the map here. With the Orianna still there, they're going to try and catch out Fee. Fee does get dropped, or should go down in just a moment as Snitch finds his way into the fight. Doom again!
Oh, there it is!
Completely tears apart the Na'Vi retreat with a wonderful satchel charge that isolates Hydro and takes him down. You can now see that the focus is likely going to be on this Baron. Can Vex pull something back from the clutches here? What is so interesting about this game as well is that we're still even in gold. And you can see Random knows that that's going to be the case. The ultimate comes through. Yekwi maybe looking for a wild attempt at Shockwave to take things down. He's desperately looking for his angle as it's going to be Random trying to buy time. That's going to be an engage. He's into the pit. Xiao's into the pit. He's buying time. Xiao by himself. Yekwi there as well. Oh my word, they've given away the dragon for the Baron for the time being, but it's stopped the Baron, and that's exactly what they wanted. Xiao should be able to disengage. Beautiful play to stop that Baron going down from Na'Vi.
He did it, exactly. Yekwi with a beautiful shockwave, and then Xiao going in with his ultimate as well. What an amazing job by Na'Vi, being able to delay that Baron, which is going to give them another chance to take that fight. Great job by them, just dealing so much damage and really not allowing REC's to do anything near that Baron. And let's take a look at the items, actually. And I feel like REC's has the item advantage. And while I'm talking about that, there is a fight happening in the mid lane.
It is indeed. It's going to be Snitch that is the target, forced to flash away, managed to get away with it as well. may end up losing the mid lane tier 1, but it does look like they aren't going to commit much further than they have already. It still feels close. Gonna be honest with you, Hells, it does still feel close, this game.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it feels very close. Both teams are just, really showing great performance. And now it's really all about who's going to be the stronger late game team. And I went for Na'Vi earlier on, but it looks like Rix is just playing the game so well. But I still believe Na'Vi is going to have the edge in the late game. I still believe it.
I think it really comes down to that Orianna. Definitely so. I'm aligned with your thoughts here, Hells. The Orianna can be definitely a difference maker. If she's there when the team fights are breaking out, though, I think one of the things that have been too easy for Rix to exploit is that they've just, you've seen Yekui split pushing, you've seen Yekui on the other side of the map, and then Rix are just saying, okay, fine, we'll force something. Okay, we'll go mid, we'll go to an objective. And so I think for the time being, really want to see Yekui kind of group up. He's got 13k gold. He's got the most gold in the game. He is that big carry that Na'Vi needs to pull through in some of these later game team fights.
Definitely, and right now I feel like Rix is getting more of the advantage. They're really pushing away Na'Vi in this game right now. We have Snitch pushing the Baron lane, we have Random pushing the bot lane, and just a lot of pressure applied on Na'Vi. They're also stealing away the jungle. This is what's slowly going to be getting Rix ahead of Na'Vi, denying golden experience, especially from Vex, who is barely level 13, by the way, while SC7 is already well into level 14. So Rix is doing a great job keeping Na'Vi behind, especially Vex.
Maybe the Elder Inferno for the second game in a row here, Hells, spawning. Is it going to provide all the drama and the excitement that it did in the previous game? Team fights at this point are still very much within Na'Vi's grasp. And as we mentioned before, with how strong their Orianna is right now, you still see them really execute and win out a team fight easily. There's not exactly like there's a huge amount of pressure going on in any of the side lanes right now. That is Hydro down to 2 HP, basically. That is a big, big win. And SC7 goes in. He wants Yekui as they dive over the wall. He's going to be the target. It's Random by himself. Backed up by the wave. They're diving in. Rix takes one. It's a killing spree for Snitch as they go straight on to Fi as well. Forced to pop the stone plate. Hydro completely irrelevant. Absolutely killed off in the fight before it even began. And that's going to be Elder Infernal, maybe even Baron, maybe even game and series for Rix.
Oh my god, Doom showing the late game Ziggs power. We talked about it in the first game. Ziggs being able to just do that. He threw one bomb and then his ultimate, he already had the Kai'Sa at 2 HP or at 20% HP. And then a really solid engagement from Scout, but it was too late already. Glue with his ultimate with Nami, just allowing Random to easily get up his stacks, and it was just game over. When Darius got his stacks, when Kai'Sa was unable to do anything in that fight, the game was over. And then we had Snitch as well diving in deep. Just Rix absolutely destroying Na'Vi right there. And here we have it again.
Yeah, Hydro just gets caught out once more. Random. What Hydro? Where are you going? Where are we going, Hydro? Where are we going? Not to the right place, that's for certain. That is a huge win. That's a 4 Dragon Infernal. Like, you ain't fighting a Ziggs with 4 Dragon Infernal. It's game over at this point, unless pending a crazy team fight where somehow Na'Vi are able to win by themselves and then sort of get a push and win the game. It feels like it's nails in the coffin for the Na'Vi roster at this point.
Yeah, nails in the coffin, and even more nails just to add to it, just to make sure the coffin doesn't get opened anymore. But are they still going to be able to punch through the coffin? Because we have seen it happen before. Games that, where 3 inhibitor turrets have taken, and it happens right there.
Doom again just buys enough time by himself. Now Vex goes down. That's the healing coming through. Snitch has already done the damage. Desperately trying to defend here, Shao, but they don't need the Baron. They can win their game right here, right now. Rix.GG, and GG it is as they push down that mid lane tier 1. Only going to be Hydro left alive with T to try and defend here, but he knows there's nothing they can do.
Yeah, it's game over.
It's game over indeed. Congratulations to Rix. They're going to continue in the winners bracket, send Na'Vi down to the losers bracket with a very close but decisive 2-0 versus Na'Vi.
Definitely, but I wanna mention that Na'Vi did a great job as well, right? Na'Vi did a really good job, especially in the first game, showing Rix what they're made of. And I feel like it's not over for Na'Vi yet. Even through the losers bracket, they're gonna get through it.
I 100% agree with you. 100% agree. And I think, you know, they've got plenty of competition in the loser side of the bracket, but they've already shown that they can dance with the big boys, and they absolutely danced with WREC this series. You know, I don't want to take anything away from them. The gold differences, Hells, show you how close this was from start to finish.
Yeah, definitely. Like, honestly, I thought WREC would dominate this. They kind of did in the second game, but not quite dominating it. Navi showed what they're made of. And in the first game, they were going to win the game, but then due to unfortunate defense, they still lost the game. But even in the second game, they were able to get the first blood. They were able to get some catches, just really showing that, hey, we can match up against one of the best teams in Europe.
Absolutely. And they really did. And I think it's difficult to choose a player that I think really stood out in this series. I think there's plenty of players that have been absolutely insane, from WREC especially. But I think, to me, there are two players that I think stand out. And I think that's SE7 and Doom. I think they both had an incredible series. But some of the micro things that Doom did, like right there, just that right there essentially confirmed the Baron for them. And I think just the damage he was putting out as well, the way he played some of these team fights, even though SE7 had some of those hero moments as well, really feel like that Doom himself had an absolutely baller performance on this 6.
And especially because throughout the game, we didn't really give him the credits that he deserved, because we were constantly talking about SE7 and Clue doing stuff and Random. But Doom was the one in the backline that no one was really noticing, but he was dishing out the most damage by far on that 6.
Oh, yeah.
In the first game, dealing 40,000 damage. In the second game, dealing so much damage. And also, as we said, his micro was amazing. And just here, look at him. 14 assists. He got nearly every single assist in a kill. No kills, but I can guarantee you that he did one of the most damage, regardless of only having 13,000 gold, as opposed to the 16,000 gold from all of his teammates.
Yeah, I think Doom... 0-1-14 doesn't have the kills, but I can assure you, as you say, the damage is going to be very telling. And Ziggs is one of those champions. Yeah, 25k. Actually less than Random this game, but still very impressive nonetheless. Brilliant performance from WREC. Some of those late game team fights were just excellent, really beautiful to watch, and just showed you how easy it was for them to just kind of isolate those targets and take them down. I do want to really stress, though, the 2-0 does not do this series justice. Like, we were looking at 20-minute games where the gold levels were absolutely like equivalent.
This as well. Yeah, this the gold levels.
And you could see how even it was. It was below 3k even up until 15 minutes. And obviously a series of events just allowed WREC to rocket that. But up until 15 minutes of the game, we were looking at like minimal gold difference between these two teams, Hells.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, I really want to talk about WREC, because the beauty of WREC is if one player doesn't perform, the others will, right? First game, Random didn't perform as well, but the others just absolutely hard carried it. Second game, Doom didn't perform that well. I mean, he still did, but he didn't hard carry, I guess. That's what you can say, perform well. The rest did, right? There's always going to be someone that's going to carry you when you play in the roster of WREC, and that's what really is their power. You cannot just shut down one lane like they tried to do in the first game. You cannot just shut down Random and then have the others do nothing, because the others are going to carry the game then.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, speaking of the MVP, I believe we're currently deciding on the MVP for that series. If you had to make a choice, Hells, who would you choose?
I would choose either SE7 or Doom, honestly.
Yeah,
I would lean more towards Doom because of that Elder Dragon steal, because that was the whole thing that won them the game, basically. Even though it was, you can kind of say that it's luck. But before talking about the MVP, we're going to be heading on to the play of the game, and it's going to be an interesting one this game is going.
Oh yeah, I think there's too many things to kind of think about, but I think that fight around Baron for me was a really big one. I know it looks like it's that fight towards the end of the game where you can see Hydro was already taken out of the fight, Hells.
Yeah, when Doom did that initial ultimate, just getting Hydro. Look at him. Hydro has 20% HP. He didn't do anything this fight. And this is what I mean. Like, we didn't really talk too much about Doom, but this was Doom's fight. He won them this fight. He basically made it a 5 versus 4 before the fight had even started. And that is the power of Ziggs. And it's crazy to see how hard he was able to abuse that power in this game.
Absolutely. And I think now we can have a look at who is the officially selected MVP for this series. I think it was a bit of a toss-up between Doom and SE7, but let's see. Drum roll, please. I think it's going to be Doom.
Because we see the Elder Dragon.
With the back of that Elder Steel, like you said, it was a huge win for him. He played a really good series.
Yeah, he played a really good series, right? Besides that Elder Dragon steal, just look at this here. He catching out enemies, triple kill. Like, that's the beauty of Ziggs. You won't see him do it, but he's doing it all from the backline. He's doing all the damage, all the slows, everything. Just crazy, really crazy. And I feel like they're gonna have to ban away the Ziggs from him. But see, the problem is, we've seen him stream, right? He plays everything like this. It's not just the Ziggs. He plays every single champion like this. So absolute MVP in this game, and I'm sure he's gonna get many more MVPs in future series as well. It's gonna.
Absolutely, great player, and has that game knowledge that Jungle provides as well to ensure that he's making the correct decision most of the time too, just innately. That is our first series of the day done, a 2-0, and it was a great series nonetheless. It felt like it could have been an easy 2-1 either way, to be honest with you. A flip of a coin on some situations in those games, and either team would have come out on top. So fantastic series. I think it's thoroughly deserved the airtime that it got here, Hells. I loved every moment of it. Let's go to a quick break though. When we're back, we've got our second series of the day. We'll go the second series of the day. We've got the another awesome series coming as well. Oh, we got an instant. Oh, we got. Go. Oh, guess the ending. Sorry.
Winning the game 10 out of 10 times.
Win a game.
Honestly, it's the wrong answer, but doing a pentakill and losing the game because I like to look cooler.
If it's a normal game, like for my friends, then I would rather lose. But if it's a competitive game, I like to win.
Obviously, doing a pentakill, you have to show the effort.
Well, it depends where. If it's tournament, of course, I prefer winning.
But if it's a ranked game, or a normal game, or ARAM, or whatever, I'd rather do a pentakill.
Win the game. I will never make a pentakill as a support.
For sure winning the game. For sure winning the game. It feels even worse when you get a penta and lose a game. It feels so bad.
Winning a game, always. But knowing myself, I will do a penta and win the game, for sure.
Öyle.
Suat dağıtan altında ultisini kullanıyor Zero. Düştürü bıraktı ve oyunun gittiği yerde yakalayacak bu sefer. Zonya'yı basıyor, takım arkadaşı geldi ama oldu.
Welcome to the official Riot Games WREC EMEA Championship.
Everybody round, everybody round here, know we getting hype. Everybody round, everybody round, everybody round, everybody round,
Welcome back, everybody, to the Wild Rift European Championship. We've swapped out Hells for Stuart for our second game of the day, Formulation versus Team Dark. It's going to be another really interesting series. I think two of the teams that are more like dark horses in the upper bracket here, Stu. But firstly, given you were on the sidelines of that Na'Vi game, how do you feel about that whole series? It was crazy, right?
It was an absolutely mental series. I really like how both teams, and I feel like this is teams in general, are focusing more on different picks in the drafts. You know, you had WREC focusing with the AP mages, you had Na'Vi focusing more on like the jungle and the support synergy. But overall, a really, really close series, and hoping for more for the second series.
Absolutely, me too. I'm very much looking forward to this second series and hoping we get to see all of the actions. Let's take a look over at. Sorry, say again. Stu. I mean, I'm thinking about this next series coming. What do you think of the? What do you think of it?
I feel like it's a very, very close matchup. I feel like Team Dark have a little bit of an edge over Formulation. I'm not really... I mean, it could go either way, to be fair. You know, we've seen Team Dark before. The likes of Elegi, the likes of Juicy playing really, really well. Even on the side of Formulation as well, though, you still got really strong players there as well. You had the Don in the mid lane, who had a really, really strong performance in the first series. Also had Zaura as well, which has originally played in mid lane before, has now moved on to the support role. So it's going to be interesting to see these two teams match up against each other.
No, I absolutely do. I think really we were expecting big things from these two teams. Which team is your favorite? I think coming into this one, Stu.
I did predict for Team Dark. I think most people did predict Team Dark as well. Again, it's very, very close. But I mean, whoever team wins here has to go up against WREC in the next round. So they're going to have to perform really, really well, and they have to kind of prepare themselves for that next matchup. But for this one, you know, with the new patch and everything as well, they're going to be seeing, maybe is Yuumi going to get banned? Maybe is she not? Is there going to be other priority picks? We'll have to wait and see.
All right, we'll take a look over at Hells, who's standing by with some key points for this game.
So on to the key points about these games. Both teams showed a very strong performance in the first series. They both won 2-0 and they showed a very convincing performance. Yet again, we don't know how good these teams are yet. It's going to be the same as WREC against Na'Vi like last time. We don't know what's going to happen in this game, right? And then after that, Team Dark has picked some crazy support picks that we have not seen before whatsoever. During any competitive game, really, they picked the Sona, which is a champion that is considered to be quite weak in competitive because she takes a very long time to go through the late game. But Team Dark pulled it off. And Amumu support. Unbelievable. So I'm really hoping to see some of these crazy types of supports from Team Dark in today's game as well. And talking about Formulation, we have a lot of different flex picks. We saw them pull off the Galio set in the Dragon Lane, which is really not what you're expecting, right? You're kind of expecting a mage or a Dragon Lane or an ADC in the Dragon Lane, but they picked the Galio set to win their game. So are they going to be pulling off some of these crazy picks as well? We basically have two teams with crazy picks. So who's going to be the craziest one and who's going to take this game? So to see that, we're going to be going back to External Stuart to get into the draft.
Yeah, before we get to that stage, though, we, of course, need to take a look at the players that are on these rosters. Of course, the two teams that are really well skilled. I think a lot of people have high hopes for Team Dark as well. I think a team that has generated a lot of hype, especially with the likes of Elegi and things like King C in the middle. Let's have a look at these two teams, though, Stu. Any names that we should really be looking out for?
I think you mentioned already Elegi already, and the mid lane matchup as well, Don against Ching Si, is going to be a really, really interesting matchup. I feel like both these teams are very, very good. I feel like they're just below, you know, we call it the Titan level of Wild Rift, you know, the top 4 teams. I feel like they're definitely in the top 10, and yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting. You got UI in the top lane as well, Juicy against Zaura as well in the support role. There's a lot of very, very interesting matchups that it's quite hard to predict as well. I think even like what we've seen on social media and everything as well have been a very, very close. Some people think Formulation, some people think Team Dark.
I mean, I think it is going to be pretty much a 50-50 series overall. Let's take a look now. I think we got our resident analysis standing by with Hells. He's bringing you a new champion that he thinks is insanely broken. Let's see who he's chosen.
Who is it gonna be? Who is it gonna be? Of course, it's gonna be Yuumi. We all knew it was gonna be Yuumi. Last week we had the Orianna, and this week we have Yuumi. And Yuumi is a bit of a meme champion, but she's a serious threat as well. After the recent buffs, they buffed everything about her. Everything. And she's gonna be slapped on your head, like we see right there, on either a Garen or an Olaf, and she's gonna absolutely hard carry the game. We saw her being banned every single game as the first champion in the last series. I really want to see what she can do. I really want to see what she can do. As you can see, the Garen Yuumi is also a famous composition. I want to see what she can do. And is she going to be picked? I really hope she is. As you can see, look at me. I'm the ADC now. Yuumi is going to carry the game. She just provides so many stats. So that is it for the Brokenness House. Back to the casters.
Well, we have no idea whether she's broken as Hells because she's been banned. So we have no idea how good Yuumi is right now because she has just been on the ban hammer every single time that we got into the draft phase. Though I think the red side first bans do kind of indicate whether that was against Clue or not is difficult to say right now, but the red side first ban does kind of indicate that a lot of pro teams are fearing what Yuumi can bring to the table right now. And I think that's fair enough, given that she was already being played in a lot of pro play situations before she got a range of buffs for her entire kit.
I really want to see Yuumi top. I mean, we've seen it in other regions. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, I want to see some of these weird picks that we've never seen before. We've seen Yuumi in support role. We've seen Yuumi play with Olaf before for Team Queso last week. Give us some Yuumi. I mean, I'm expecting it to be banned on the red side with the likes of, Jay, Set, Fiora, all these champions, Gragas as well, which has definitely gone up in priority because of the electrocute bust. But enough of talking, let's get into picks and bans.
Let's take a look at what we've got coming our way here. We have a Varus first ban for Formulation. So that's going to be off the table. They don't want to pick it. Neither do they want to give that over to Team Dark following Team Dark with the set ban. So no Yuumi first ban on Team Dark side. Whether that was against Clue or not remains to be seen. Obviously, we have Zawa on the side of Formulation, and he's relatively experienced across the multitude of support champions, so wouldn't be surprised to have him having Yuumi in his wheelhouse. And like you said, we could still see the potential for Yuumi top in some scenarios as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, with the side of Formulation, they've been playing these really interesting, unique champions as well. Like Fekko's been playing Galio AP carry in the duo lane. We've seen Zawa play set support, which obviously won't be played this game. And then you got Team Dark as well. They got so many different champions. I think one champion to focus on for Team Dark is going to be Darius for sure. Elegi, we all know how well he can play on Darius and how strong he is. So it's going to be interesting to see if they focus on Darius. But so far, is Rakan being focused away from Formulation, and it is that Fiora banned away. I think Fiora being banned away is definitely fair enough because WREC and SE7, he thought his name for a second, SE7 showed how powerful this champion is. And even if it's not played in the jungle, it can still be really strong in the Baron lane as well.
Absolutely. And we'll see what the final ban here is. It's Galio.
Yuumi's open.
So like you said, Yuumi is open, or Formulation Gaming if they want it. And that is the first time we're seeing Yuumi left open, of course, this weekend. It was banned in the previous series, both times red side one ban by Na'Vi. And it'll be Gragas that's prioritized here for Formulation Gaming. So maybe these teams not exactly expecting Yuumi to kind of be a high tier pick for them, or maybe the strategies that they want to employ.
I think the problem with like first picking Yuumi is that like the other team, for example, can take away the Garen and the Olaf, and then you're kind of stuck with like what other champions can you really pair with Yuumi. You got Jax available as well and other champions, but I think the main ones are Olaf and Garen. I think are the main ones that get paired with Yuumi. Gragas first pick priority. We've seen it in the mid lane. We've seen it as support. Really strong flex pick, especially with the electrocute buffs as well. Gragas mid lane going full AP. Gragas normally takes electrocute, just get them small burst trades. We do see Sync again taking Kha'Zix. This was a really strong champion champion for him against Control a few weeks ago. He was jumping around. He was playing really, really well on his Kha'Zix, so I'm not surprised to see that be in focus. And again, we see a Ziggs priority as well. A lot of players going back towards Ziggs, which we haven't seen in high priority for quite a while. It was always first pick or first ban on red side most of the time.
Sorry, my dogs are barking, so I accidentally muted myself. Obviously, we have Ziggs being brought back into the table. Irelia coming out for Don, I assume, which is a very big Don pick in the mid lane. So good to see him going back to some comfort in a very important series for them here. And as you mentioned, Ziggs being a priority is interesting, given that in 2021, it was pretty much always first pick, first ban, in those scenarios. So Ziggs coming back into the meta in a strong way. Interesting to see whether Yuumi could get paired up with an AP champion bot, obviously with those adaptive force changes on her W. It is going to be the Darius, though, that comes through. So they've basically revealed a significant amount of their top side of the map here. Obviously, Gragas can flex Stu, so he could still be support or jungle, but very interesting that Formulation are giving away that much about their roster, rather than about their comp this early on.
Yeah, interesting enough, maybe taking away the Darius away from Eligi is going to be a Riven pick as well. So Riven could be flex mid or top lane. But again, going back quickly to the Ziggs, it was, as you mentioned, quite high priority. But I think the thing is that now, there you go, you're going to see Team Dark banning out the AP champion. So you only really have Morgana and really Orianna left, and then you're kind of forced at the moment for Formulation to pick another AP champion. I mean, you have a bit of AP damage with Gragas, but if it's a support Gragas, you're not going to be building a lot of damage. But it could be jungle Gragas, it could be like full AP jungle Gragas. But the Darius is probably a deny away from Eligi, to be fair, as well. And Don, we know how strong he is on Irelia. We saw it a few weeks ago as well, how well he can perform. Interesting enough, the supports are being banned away, though, from Formulation. So maybe indicating that this could potentially be a Gragas support.
I wonder if they're going for like an Orianna pick, because surely you'd have to get rid of Orianna here over Corki anyway, for sure. Like getting rid of the Orianna, because she just seems like such a nice fit for this Formulation Gaming roster. We'll see what the final ban is here for Formulation Gaming. They have one more left to go. They took out the Alistar, so took away some of the engage and sort of mass CC potential. Alistar is traditionally quite good into heavy melee comps because you can often get a lot of value. They're also going to ban the Thresh. Let's see what Team Dark go for here. If they don't take the Orianna, I expect Orianna to get picked up by Formulation.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it could still be, they could still rely on that AP damage source from Gragas, but, according to the bans, it looks like the Gragas is going to be in the support role, and it's going to be Jace. So Jace, interesting enough, has gone through the bans, or the whole of the bans. So it's could be flexed, Jace mid, Riven mid, Jace top, Riven top. You'll be definitely one of the two will be going into either lane. But yeah, now you stay for Formulation. You kind of need a little bit more AP damage if this Gragas is going to go down to the support role. It can still be flexed around, but with Orianna still available, you expect it to be a pickup for Fekko. It's Seraphine. It's the first time, if I'm not mistaken, the first time we've seen Seraphine in the WREC. I'm getting some flashbacks myself, and I used to play Seraphine Sona in Origin series last year. But a very interesting pick, to be fair, against this Team Dark composition.
I think it's nice with the front line that you've got. It provides a lot of direct CC, and they're going to go for the Nunu. So it's Seraphine Gragas bot, Nunu jungle, Darius Baron lane, and then obviously having the Irelia popping in for Don in the mid lane. That's very interesting. I think you are limited. I think your damage output is a little limited, in my opinion. I think obviously you're relying on the cycles of Seraphine to get most of your damage out in these team fights, but obviously it's very punishing. It's a very punishing anti-melee comp. What are Riven, Kha'Zix, and Jace gonna do? That's the Sona coming in from Team Dark that Hells was just talking about before we go into this game, but I will still stand by my point. This is going to be a rubbish game, especially for Riven and Kha'Zix, because how are you doing anything in team fights versus this comp?
Formulation have so much crowd control. Is if Kha'Zix jumps in or if Riven jumps in, they won't be able to move at all. Like you said, it's a little bit interesting to see the how much damage output the Formulation could do, because they're kind of reliant maybe on Don jumping in or Darius trying to get a few stacks as well, because Seraphine doesn't do as much damage. But we've seen these pocket picks before from Formulation. As mentioned, Fekko's played Galio down in the Dura lane, loves to play them AP champions, and now we get a Seraphine from him as well. So that's really interesting. But yeah, as you said, Sona support, which they're going to really struggle, I feel like, in this Dura lane Team Dark. You know, Ziggs and Sona, not really the best in terms of early game. And if you can get a pick, if you get a body slam or a little charm or something with the Seraphine onto Team Dark's Dura lane, they could definitely be bursted down. But two very different team comps to what we saw in the first series.
Oh, absolutely. And again, no Yuumi all the way through the picks and bans here. So these two teams obviously not seeing the value of that champion right now. It's interesting to see how teams approach the meta in different ways. Like a lot of teams I've seen on Twitter saying Yumi's insane, like she's so good in competitive. And obviously for these guys, neither team particularly interested in picking her. Neither didn't fit a strategy that they're willing to play. Like Garen was open, we could have seen Garen Yuumi. Jax was open, we could have seen Jax jungle Yuumi. Like there was a lot of options that Yuumi is really good with. But as we said, teams have different ways of approaching the game, and these two teams obviously have two quite different ways. Let's talk about the team comps that we're seeing then, Stu. What do you make of those two team comps, and what can we expect to see in game from them?
So in-game, definitely, I mean, for the likes of Team Dark, they're definitely going to have to play a lot more passive in the Dura lane, let the Ziggs and let the Sona scale up, because they're going to be struggling a lot against this Formulation Dura lane, which can play a little bit aggressive at times as well. And you can see in the early game, they're going to be trying to push in the Dura lane. This mid lane matchup is going to be pretty much a skill matchup, I would say. You know, Jace has the extra range early on, but Don, we've seen him perform really well on Irelia before, so that's going to be a very interesting matchup. And we haven't really spoken too much about Kamau on the Nunu, which is again not really a pick that we see too often, but it does provide a lot of crowd control and is a kind of a frontline tank for the team.
I'm kind of interested to see, because traditionally things like Riven and Kha'Zix, even Jace to an extent, they need to snowball versus lineups that are going to build a decent front line, right? When you're going up against a lot of CC and a big front line like the Nunu and the Darius, like traditionally you would hope that something like a Kha'Zix would be able to snowball pretty quickly, because otherwise you feel like Riven and Kha'Zix are going to really struggle to actually have an impact in these teamfight situations. So I'm kind of looking towards this early laning phase. I'm kind of looking towards some of these early moments in the game to see how these teams are going to approach kind of like trying to accelerate their lead. Because I really feel like the onus is on Team Dark to accelerate this game. Otherwise, they are just going to simply be unable to win team fights, really, through the virtue of their comp, other than really relying on Ziggs to do the majority of the legwork.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that as well. Kind of makes it seem like the Team Dark lineup as well is kind of split in terms of what they want to do, because they want to play passive in the Dura lane, but then, as you mentioned, you got the Kha'Zix and the Riven that likes to get ahead and likes to snowball into the middle lane game and get a few kills under their belt before they can get into them team fights. But both junglers at the moment just invading on the other parts of blue side, just going for this split jungle at the moment, and Kost is going to stay on the field for now, trying to push down the mid lane. Got level 5 already. It's crazy how quickly junglers can get level 5. It's going to be able to get that first evolve straight away, which is most likely going to be the Q evolve. He'll probably wait until he gets around the outside, but that will most likely be the same. Look at the vision that Formulation have. I mean, they know where Kha'Zix is as well. They know the blue buff has been taken away now. Sync knows that. He's going to be clearing the walls for now, and it's going to be that Q evolve to start things off. So Formulation know where Sync is. Most likely going to know that he's going to go back to base as well. So now it's on the side of Formulation. If they do want to make some early plays with this Nunu, which we spoke a little bit about the early game, but if the Nunu can gank, mid lane or even the Dura lane as well with this snowball, he could definitely look to try and snowball himself.
I think when you've got an Irelia versus Jace mid as well, that's definitely one of those areas that you maybe want to try and get into and fight as much as possible. Mm-hmm. You also have the Darius matchup with the Riven, and traditionally, if you leave that matchup alone, it's very skill dependent in my opinion. But I think more often than not, a good Riven player beats a good Darius player. And Elegy just stepping in every time, trying to find some work here. Well, what's really interesting between these two teams compared to previous is we're not seeing the immediate transition into 1-3-1s. We're not seeing those bot laners kind of move their way around to the mid lane and then transitioning the Irelia and the Jace into a side lane. But we are seeing a full, massive group at the top side of the map. There's a flash engage onto the Sona from Zawa, trying to take advantage of that low HP pool that the Sona has, and will not get away with it for the time being.
Yeah, Team Dark had vision that Zhao was there, but still Sona was walking up quite aggressively, even though they knew that Zhao was in there. And again, it's more of the case of, you know, Formulation have the kind of advantage with the support roams, because Sona can't really do that much. It doesn't really offer too much as she's roaming around the map. But Zhao being able to, he burned the flash himself, but he also burned the flash and the heal away from Juicy. So, you know, now you see this little bit of what you just said, you know, the mid lane, a little bit later than what we saw in the previous series. But again, it's going to be the Seraphine and the Ziggs just pouring down. And that's a first blood in bot lane. We missed it out. And it looks like Sync's jumping in as well.
Yeah, it looks like Don now maybe even going for two. Don gets a double kill on the Irelia. And that is a Jace and a Kha'Zix down, and that's not what you want to see if you're Team Dark in this situation. A fed Irelia will be a nuisance for your comp.
We mentioned it already a little bit in Champion Select as well, how Don performed really, really well on Irelia last week. And it was the stun that lands as well, and it's just stacking the passive as much as possible, being able to get the resets of the Q as well. Sync tries to jump in as well, but I believe he does get stunned by the E in the end. He's able to reset as well. Flashes away, has the stacks for the extra attack speed, gets the reset on his Q, on his first ability, and being able to dash back into the Kha'Zix. And just really, really well played from Don. That just shows that he sometimes is, you know, sometimes can be a bit of a flip player. I'm sure he won't mind me saying that, but when he gets his comfort champions, when he plays on the Irelia, you can see what he can offer for his team.
I'm pretty excited to see that they're already off to a great start here, Formulation. I think they double, what's the word I'm looking for? Like they double objectives, you know, that 4-minute mark. They got the Herald, which they're dropping mid. They got the Dragon as well off the back of those plays that we saw Don make on the bottom side of the map. And now they're trying to put that Rift Herald through that mid lane tower. Not quite able to get it. They didn't have the resources to kind of convert fully, but it's a great start here for Team Dark. It's for Formulation Gaming. They're really, really putting the pedal to the metal against Team Dark. And I think they're maybe even going to be able to snowball to that bot lane where Don has stacked away from the bot side of the map.
Yeah, they weren't able to get in the mid lane tower. I think it was a little bit of a over-aggressive Rift Herald, because you do have the Ziggs in the mid lane as well. But they still do take the first tower of the game down the Dura lane. So using that pressure from the mid lane, from the Rift Herald, to allow Don to push into the Dura lane. So Rift Herald kind of works as a sort of distraction. You can see the mid lane tower is also at 600 health. So if they do win another team fight, they will most likely be able to take that mid lane tower eventually. But yeah, as you said, you know, Formulation getting a bit of an early lead. And when you have the likes of Kha'Zix and Riven and a Jace as well on the side of Team Dark, they have a bit of scaling with the Sona and the Ziggs. But honestly, when you have like a Seraphine, and when like you have the frontline tanks of Nunu and Darius jumping on you, I feel like it's going to be really, really hard for Ziggs and Sona to kind of stay back and kind of play passive this game.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, right? That's kind of what we talked about from the initial draft phase, is that like this Kha'Zix and this Riven kind of makes sense if you can snowball and you can kind of take advantage of early ganks and maybe some early skirmishes where you're not going to be going full 5v5. But as soon as we enter into a 5v5 scenario where you have, you know, the front line of a Gragas bopping back and left, you have the Nunu ultimate, you have the Darius, like they're not going to survive very long. Neither are they going to be providing enough breathing room for the Ziggs and the Sona to do what they need to do in these team fights. So that's the major issue that I've got here, is that just from a compositional standpoint, Team Dark had to rely on just getting this Kha'Zix and getting this Riven really far ahead, and they just haven't been able to do that. And in fact, it's been the opposite. Those two champions have fallen behind, and that does not look good when you're going up against just the amount of frontline that you have to churn through on Formulation Gaming.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It seems that both the majors have picked up the anti-heal early on. Obviously, Beko wants to take the anti-heal, but Ziggs is in a lot of trouble. He's just dead. That's a killing spree.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem when you give Don this kind of start, especially on his Irelia. This is a champion that he's really well known for playing. And now he's just running away with things. Like he'll find that one opportunity, he lands a stun, and you're probably just dead. And in that situation, that was Mario who just got bopped. One mid now by himself. threatening a tower dive. Very lucky that he's got a bit of a wait until that minion wave turns up, and now you can see Sync and 30201 are coming to try and help out. That's the ultimate coming through. They have a huge amount of healing to work with though, as the Seraphine bops her ultimate. In goes Zao once more. The flash away from 201 for the time being. The dunk comes through. It's the first one there. There's the exhaust. They'll trade 1-for-1 overall as we get a double kill now for Sync on the Kha'Zix, and he smells the blood for Darius. It won't be a triple, but it'll be a 3-for-1, and Team Dark come back big in the top lane.
Really, really huge ultimate as well by Juicy on the Sonar, really just shutting down the members, and a little bit over aggressive. I feel like Formulation were kind of splitting calls there. It was UI going in, but then the rest of the team kind of wanted to back off because Feko and Zao were kind of stuck. But you can see that Kamau is trying to take this Rift Herald. It's really hard to try and steal away the Rift Herald. As you can see, you know, they're consumed plus the smite for the side of Nunu. Just really, really hard to get that objective control against the Nunu. And now you got the Infernal Drake in 10 seconds as well. So a little bit of gold back over to Team Dark, and they still like about 2,000, just over 2,000 gold behind. But now both teams are going to look towards this dragon with the Rift Herald already being taken down. All the focus now is going to be on the bot side of this map.
That's a huge chunk from Jace onto Fico. He's already lost half his HP from a single shock blast acceleration gate. Starting up this Infernal for the time being, we're going to see the Rift Herald drop mid. That will take that mid lane tower down for free. Unfortunately, the positioning of Team Dark is not good to prevent this, but it was going to go down either way. And now they have to kind of deal with it before this dragon gets started up. This might be, in my opinion, one of the last team fights of the game where Team Dark really have a good shot at kind of getting what they want. But even then, the 5v5s, I don't think favor them, Stu. Really don't think they favor them.
Yeah, Feko's split at the moment from the rest of the team. There is the Formulation are a little bit split at the moment. They try to use a Rift Herald as, like you said, kind of the distraction so they can get the dragon, but they're not able to get it in the end. The extra poke from the Darius and also the Ziggs as well, being able to stop the side of Formulation from going down. You can see the poke damage already. Feko again, already down to half health, and this could give Team Dark the dragon. It looks like Seraphine is backing off, and so is Nunu, but Team Dark maybe don't know that. Actually, Feko's going to stay instead, going to try and heal up from the empowered W, but it's just constant poke at the moment. Both teams are playing very, very careful. They know how much they rely on this Infernal Dragon as well, and it does give a huge, massive buff to both teams. And Dog's going in!
And he gets a huge engage onto the back line. That's one of the problems when it's a Fed Irelia. Now watch this Nunu. Zones out Jace and Elegy. There's nothing they can do. Sync wasn't even in place, and Don pops off again. Don't give this man Irelia. He'll do that to your team time and time again, and now that might be on the ban list for Team Dark going into the next game.
Yeah, we saw it last week, and we're seeing it this week as well. Donna being able to, I think it was an ulti flash, ulti flash, and then a Seraphine follow up as well, who also ulti flashed as well. So little things you can get as well. But it's another fight as well. Sync.
Still not a great one though, because they were hoping to get that top lane tier 1 in my opinion. So they get a kill, but it's not massively worth it for the trade they just made on the Infernal. That's 2 dragons. Don, really, to me, having one of the games of the tournament for himself right now. He's single-handedly carrying these team fights out. They look like they're going to go for that top lane tier 1. They should be able to get it with the Ziggs relatively easily now, and they will be able to do so. You can see some pings coming through. There is the snowball trying to catch out the Ziggs. Actually forces the flash. That was a little preemptive, because I feel like it was only the Nunu that was threatening at that point, but he didn't know that, so had to make the safe flash nonetheless.
Yeah, you can see that they did catch out UI in the end, and Zao was here to support him though, and Sync unfortunately was tanking all the tower. But as you said, you know, Zao and UI kind of did their job in the end. Their job was to defend the tower, even though UI did die for it. Like you said, you'll take that trade any day. They were able to win the mid lane fight beforehand. They got the Infernal Dragon with the Mountain Dragon as well. The Mountain Dragon is going to help them a little bit with the poke as well from Jace and from Ziggs, because it will give them a little bit of extra shielding. This Sonar at the moment, not really doing too much. There was a bit of a play in the top side of the map. We've seen Juicy play the Sonar before, but before they were able to scale. And Elegy, I'm not too sure this is a fight you want to take.
Don actually managed to force it. Oh, he gets bopped right back in. Oh, great stasis. Great stasis. Gets picked off by a beautifully timed ultimate from Mario and the Ziggs, but they will get the tower nonetheless, which is really what they were after to begin with. Mario, though, he's going to stay around. Maybe an overextension. They didn't really need to clear that wave, and they might get punished for it as they try to go for the kill onto Kimau. He'll be able to flash away, but they will eventually try and take down Zawa. He might be able to escape over the wall here. He has the support of the Seraphine, and I think he's going to get out of here. He will. That was a brilliant escape. Some flushes burnt, but, you know, didn't get punished too hard for overstaying.
Yeah, we both thought that, or I definitely thought as well that they were both going to die there, but Nunu being able to flash away and Zawa kind of splitting the team up and flashing the other way as well. So kind of Team Dark are in a bit of a Hail Mary at the moment. They're a bit all over the place. And, you know, even though Formulations feels like at times they are making, I guess, mistakes in the end, they are still winning out in the trades. They are still winning out and they do have a little bit of an advantage. But this is a great thing about Wild Rift, and it kind of showed with the first series as well, that even though with the Formulation look like they're in control, it's not that much of a gold lead. And we're getting to a stage now, about 15 minutes into the game, where the death timers are going to be really, really long. And if Team Dark can try and win a team fight, you know, they do have the Sonar scaling up now, does have the Staff of Flowing Water, and it has the Ardent Sensor. You got the Ziggs as well that has Luna's Echo, has the Anti-Heal and the Death Cap. And you're getting a few items across the board as well, but Team Dark really needs to try and find something. But like you said already from Champion Select, it's really hard for them to jump on and try to win these team fights when you have such a beefy front line on the side of Formulation.
I don't see a good way to do it unless you are taking these smaller skirmishes like we've seen, where somehow Team Dark can come out on top. I just feel like draft-wise, they did a really odd draft for me. Like Riven Kha'Zix feels like it's too easy to exploit in pro play with the correct picks, right? I mean, Darius himself is good enough against those picks, but then you add the Gragas and the Nunu to it, and you've made those picks unplayable, really, when it comes to teamfight situations. And we know how much Wild Rift is based around teamfights. So this is probably better, though. Going for the smaller 1v1s. That's going to be an they've chucked everything. They've chucked the kitchen sink at him. Oh, there's a 4-man Serafino into the knockup from Nunu. Ziggs doing what he can from the back line. But that was a disgusting wombo combo from Formulation. Absolutely obliterated Team Dark.
I'm getting flashbacks to my Seraphine. That was absolutely insane. What a huge
Your Seraphine's never been that good. Seraphine's never been that good.
Okay. I did try. I did make a few flashy combos, but yeah, Six just going to die as well. That's going to be a dragon. Ooh, you are trying to flash forward as well, trying to get the reset with the ultimate, but unfortunately not. And yeah, that's another dragon over to the side of Formulation. But yeah, Don getting a little bit caught out, but he was just delaying. He was delaying for the rest of his team. The stasis was delaying, and you can see all the Team Dark just grouped together. Seraphine ulti flash again, and it was absolutely huge. And then it was also the root on top of that as well, onto the Nunu knockup, as you said, onto the Gragas barrel, and just an insane wombo combo. Now they're going towards the Baron, but the rest of Team Dark are trying to get here in time, and this is very, very risky, but it is a Nunu.
It's risky, but they're going straight in. That's going to be the ult straight onto the Darius for the time being. They're trying to buy some time as Don comes through. He will smite it away. He gets the kill. He's even going to win the team fight off the back as well. Beautiful play. They desperately tried. They didn't have their jungler, and you can't outsmite a Nunu. That is a huge swing for Formulation, now setting themselves up to take the rest of the game.
Yeah, this is a big, big lead now for the side of Formulation. Baron, 3 dragons. They said it was a bit even in the early game. It was a bit back and forth with Formulation. It seemed like they had control, but now they're in complete control, and it's now going to take what seems like a miracle now for Team Dark to try and get back into this, to be honest. And you know, you have to call out Fekka really on this Seraphine again. You know, another great ultimate. You know, I think multiple members on the side of Formulation are having a great game. It was Don in the early game making them flashy outplays, but as the game's gone on, it has been Fekka on this Seraphine, which we don't really see Seraphine too much, but it just shows how much she can offer. Sometimes you see Seraphine as a support role, but when Seraphine can get the farm as the AP carry down in the Dura lane, she's able to get a few items. She's able to do a lot of damage, and especially if Team Dark group up together as well, which they kind of put themselves in their own trap, really, is grouping up together. But now you can see Formulation are playing this game perfectly, and I say that.
Say that. It's going to be trying to go onto the backline. Fico does get away with it for the time being. There's this ultimate from Sonar. 201 gets dropped. Body to the floor. And now the body of Gragas into the backline as well, as one mid forced to flash away. Sync's going to do diddly squat here. No one isolated. No one low. And it is a 2-0 now. Those inhibitor towers are on the chopping block for Formulation. They'll pick up the first one, could very likely pick up the second. The healing from Seraphine is insane right now, and they are taking everything away from Team Dark.
Yeah, this is what they were originally planning. The reason why I said they were playing perfectly is because, they're going in again, but I think that's going to be it now. Yeah, 3 inhibitors down. I mean, the reason why I said that Formulation were playing it so perfectly, because you saw the Don pushing the waves in the top lane with Baron. You saw the 3 members of Formulation in the mid lane taking Baron, and you saw UI pushing the bot lane as well. This is what works great with Baron buff and what teams in the highest standpoints of the game can really focus on. You can see that Elegi was trying to get a pick in the bush as well, but again, the Seraphine charm on top of the root as well, and there was nothing really that Team Dark could do about it. And you talk about the Kha'Zix as well in this play. You can see that Sync was trying to dash in, trying to get the members dead, but Sync can't do anything. You know, when Formulation group together, Kha'Zix doesn't get the isolation damage that he really wants, that he could try and get, but at the moment he can't find any isolation damage. Formulation are just grouping together in team fights like in that situation, and now with 3 dragons, 3 inhibitors down and Elegi's dead, yeah, this is pretty much GG.
Elegi did just die, as you mentioned. Honestly, the only person that I really think even really tickles this team from... Oh, it's the flash hook! That was spicy! Spicy! They take down the Soda instantly. Beautiful play from UI. And now they're going to go for the Jace too. He'll get locked up with the exhaust, try and get the ultimate on to Sync, who could do absolutely nothing here. Mario by himself versus the world. Formulation Gaming. It took him 20 minutes. It never really felt like a close game though. 1-0 to Formulation. And they'll happily take that all off the back of a double kill for Don in the bottom side of the map.
Honestly, really impressed with Formulation. I was not expecting this coming into this series. I thought the Team Dark had a little bit of the edge. We did say it was going to be a close series coming into this anyway, but Formulation in the end, the Don, Fekko as well, Zhao even with the ultimates as well, and you can see these mid lane plays as well, the ultimates from Seraphine and the charms, and even when they're grouped together as well, the shielding and the healing of Seraphine as well. I spoke about the damage a little bit, but with the extra utility that Seraphine can offer as well, just shows you that, you know, it is a very unique pick, but it can work out as well.
I actually think, hilariously, this is a very classic Team Dark draft. Their draft like embodies the point. That was beautiful, by the way. That was such a nice Seraphine ult into Nunu knockup. The very like comp that they ran is like the classic of coin flip for Team Dark. It's the most coin flip comp ever. Nice secure on the Baron there from Kimau. And that helped Formulation really secure the game. The Baron was a complete death sentence for Team Dark. They just were not able to cope with how easy it was to take out those inhibitors. You see 201 on the Sona, time and time again, just isolated and picked off by this Formulation Gaming roster. And yeah, as you can see, nothing that Sync can do. Like, he jumps in and he's immediately forced to flush out.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, it's a bit of a flippy draft by Team Dark, kind of focusing on trying to get this bot side, trying to get ahead, but unfortunately for them, they weren't able to get ahead. And in the end, the Ziggs and the Sonar, they just got shut down so hard in the early game, and they weren't able to do that much. And when you have the likes of Kha'Zix and Riven that want to try and get that early lead, but then you have the scaling bot lane as well, it definitely felt like it was a little bit flipped, but as you can see across the board, Nunu didn't die at all, just building full tank in the end. And with all the shields and everything as well, Nunu just basically becomes unkillable. But Fekko as well, 4-2 and 12. The Don as well, coming up absolutely huge. That 2 versus 1 outplay as well in the duo lane. And just overall, a great result. And you can see that actually Seraphine done the most damage. But look at Ziggs, you know, even though it felt like, this game anyway, I felt like Ziggs did absolutely nothing at all. Still does 35,000 damage, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he was having the time of his life. But at the end of the day, like we said, we did mention he's the only one that really stands a chance of getting through this roster. Also, you know, when you have a tanky frontline that can just soak damage, and Nunu can just heal up and soak damage and heal up and soak damage, you know, you're going to get those situations. That was a really exciting first game. Great performance from Formulation Gaming. Shall we take a look at the play of the game now, Stu, and see who exactly claimed that prestigious title of having the best play from that first game in the series?
It could go either way, to be fair. It could be, okay, it had to be this.
It's got to be this, yeah.
The Don being able to delay the rest of the members, and then perfect flash ulti by Fekko, being able to follow up with the Nunu snowball, with the Gragas barrel on top of that. But, I mean, even though he didn't get the play of the game, I have to give a big shout out to Don as well for that 1 versus 2 outplay in the duo lane as well. I think it was between one of them 2 players. But yeah, the insane flash ulti Fekkos that landed that game were absolutely insane.
I fully agree with you. Like, That was insanely well played from Formulation. I think compositionally, they just drafted better. Like there was nothing Team Dark's comp could do that game. If it didn't snowball and they didn't get it like going crazy out of control, Team Dark I don't think ever really has stood a chance just from the draft alone. However, they may now stand a chance in the second game of the series. The slates will be reset. We'll be going back to the drawing board of draft. We'll see if Team Dark can get themselves back into this game. We'll see you soon. Welcome back to the Wild Rift European Championship. I'm Scoundrel, joined by Stuart for our second game of this series between Team Dark and Formulation. Formulation absolutely popped off, both in the draft and in the game itself, securing themselves a win in the first game of this series. But of course, we still potentially have 2 more games to go, see whether Team Dark can bounce back and get themselves into the running. I've got a bit pixelated, but I'm sure the team's clarity has not gone pixelated because, you know, at the end of the day, these guys are on fire right now, playing in the winners bracket of our competition. Stu, that game, I mean, just a quick reflection. Do you think it was kind of lost from draft, or were the moments that Team Dark could have taken advantage of?
I think the draft was definitely a little bit strange from Team Dark. Like I said before, you know, picking this very, very weak bot side and kind of giving away that control that that Formulation had on the bot side of the map, and then picking these kind of interesting, you know, jungle picks. I mean, Sync is very, very comfortable on Kha'Zix. I think they were just going for comfort picks, but as a team comp in general, it just didn't really fit together for Team Dark. So I'm really interested to see how this is going to work out in the second pick and ban phase, because I want to see some changes from Team Dark.
Absolutely, I think they're going to need to, and I think Hells is on the sidelines with his key points from that first game to also have his opinion on how this should be changed up for Team Dark.
Yeah, that's right, Alexandro. And talking about a bad draft, indeed, we had the same crazy picks, and it seems like my camera is having some issues again, but we had the crazy picks again. Sona coming through from Team Dark, Gragas and Seraphine go from Formulation Gaming. Sona and Ziggs is very weak in the early game, and they know that, but strong in the late game. And that was the whole idea behind it. But they weren't quite able to get to the late game. They just couldn't get that late game power of the Sona Ziggs. And Formulation Gaming had an absolutely wombo combo composition. It was amazing to see them do these crazy wombo combos with Seraphine, with the Nunu, with the Aurelia, with everyone. Just absolutely insane composition, and they made it work. And talking about them making that composition work, Formulation Gaming played very well around that composition. First of all, you know, they allowed the Aurelia to split push, have those 1v1s, where she was able to absolutely destroy the matchup, because Aurelia is a really strong 1v1 champion. And then also, they were able to do those crazy combinations with their composition with the Gragas and the Seraphine. So that is it for the key points. Back to the casters to head into the draft for the next game.
Thank you, Hells. Yeah, lots of things to think about, I think, coming into this second draft phase. Comfort definitely felt like the name of the game for Team Dark. And I'm having flashbacks to when we saw like Doom Kha'Zix with Snitch Riven in like the Origin series last year, and that went just as badly, to be completely honest with you. I don't think they're picks that have that much space in competitive, and won't have as much space in competitive as Wild Rift continues to mature as an esport, because they're, in my eyes, even on PC, I've always seen them as solo queue picks. They've always been picks that prey on disorganized, you know, teams, and I think that's not really what you expect to see in competitive. So picks and bans underway here, Stu. Any changes that you want to see immediately?
Aurelia ban, I think, might come out for the side of Team Dark. We're going to be seeing the sides. It is going to be Team Dark going over to the blue side this time. So it is going to switch things up definitely in terms of bans as well. But yeah, now that Team Dark are on the blue side, they kind of have that flexibility now. They don't have to ban away these OP champions. I say that Gragas is going to be the first ban, so taking that away from Zawa. But yeah, Team Dark overall, just what they need to try and focus on the champions that were kind of really, really strong for Formulation. You know, Gragas is a great flex pick. Maybe they don't want to prioritize that. Aurelia could be another one as well. I don't think you need to ban out the Seraphine, but they could maybe ban out the Seraphine as well, because Fekko looked really, really strong on it.
Yeah, I think that the Seraphine absolutely was something that proved a bit of an issue, but I think it was more like compositionally. I think that there are things that you can do to alleviate Seraphine as a pain point. You know, there's a reason Seraphine hasn't been as strong as she was last year in terms of competitive play, because I think people have figured out kind of ways of getting around Seraphine and drafting comps. They're very much Varus orientated or poke orientated, or just playing a bit further away, you know, or with more direct CC to kind of like stop it and isolate Seraphine. So it's going to be the Nunu ban from Team Dark, which has left open quite a few things. The Aurelia is still there, of course. Now, Elegi and I think King C also play Aurelia, so you could see an Aurelia picked up for Team Dark if they wanted to, but I will also stress that I think Aurelia is good in certain matchups and not good every single, you know, in every single case. We'll see what the final ban is here for Formulation Gaming. It's going to be set. So they're going to ban a set, and that now leaves that first pick open for Elegi.
There's a lot of picks that are open, to be honest. Jace, one other champion we actually haven't seen at all from the first series, and also the second series, is Camille as well, which seems to really fallen down the list for both teams. But you have Gadio available, you have the Darius, and there you go. You know, again, more comfort for Team Dark. They don't want the Darius to be taken away for the side of Formulation. They want Elegi on that comfort pick, and kind of I wouldn't really call it his one trick because he's really, really good with other champions, but more of a champion that he's very, very comfortable with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Darius is a pretty solid blind pick. I will say that like Garen is up if they wanted it, and Garen has been shown to be relatively solid into Darius, but it's going to be Keemao. I imagine Keemao playing the Olaf in the jungle. That's something that has been banned away against Vex in pretty much all of their series. So that's going to be banned away here. Now we're going to wait to see what the second pick for Formulation Gaming will be. Could also see Olaf top. It's not completely out of the realms of possibility. And that is obviously because Olaf top is a relatively good answer into Darius as well. You generally tend to out-trade him early on. However, Olaf top can be a bit risky, and so that's why you don't often get it see it get played as much.
I'm kind of upset with this Rakan pick. When I saw the Olaf, I was like, wait, Olaf Yuumi? Are we getting flashbacks to Team Queso with Olaf Yuumi? But unfortunately, it's Rakan. And Sync again, going back to this Kha'Zix, again, it's just more comfort for Team Dark. And it doesn't seem like they kind of really have, I would say, like any real strategy as well. They're also picking up the Galio as well, which most likely will be going over to the support and over to Juicy. But again, you're picking like kind of team fight with Galio, but then you're picking a Kha'Zix as well in Assassination, and Don again is like, you know what, just give me the Irelia, I'll just run over Team Dark again.
Yeah, I think the addition of the Galio to me does make this feel a bit nicer for Team Dark. Like Galio can help complement Kha'Zix in a way. Kha'Zix jumps in, then you always have the backup of the Galio to help keep that team fight under control. I do much prefer the draft that we're seeing coming out from Team Dark this time around. I think they're thinking about it a bit more rather than just going down the lines of let's pick what we're good at and hope it works. I think they've realized that the Formulation Gaming roster is good enough to kind of say, well, it's Elegies Riven, so we'll do this, and it sinks Kha'Zix. Let's figure out how we deal with that. They have banned away some of the good anti-melee picks, though, that we've already seen, and they've also picked up a good anti-melee pick in the form of Galio. So something to remember is that Nunu and Gragas, they were good key components of dealing with this Kha'Zix and this Riven in the previous game, and this time around we have a Galio, which adds another tool taken away from Formulation, and another tool that's obviously really good for Team Dark.
Yeah, indeed. There's going to be a lot of AP champions that are going to be banned out now. Morgana's already banned out in the first banning phase. We got Diana being banned out. We got Ziggs being banned out. Yuumi has also been banned out as well. Interesting enough, I mean, could have been paid for the side of Team Dark. I don't think that they were really thinking about Yuumi. To be fair, I'm not too sure if it was the best pick for Team Dark, but nonetheless, is banned away. Is Corki banned away as well? So for the side of Formulation here, I'm looking at Orianna. As a last kind of AP champion, you have to pick up the Orianna here. If you don't pick up the Orianna, it's going to be taken away from you from Team Dark, and then you're kind of left with not really anything else, to be fair, unless you go for Seraphine again. But to be honest, I mean, it can still work pretty well. I mean, you have the Galio to kind of give you the AP shield from the ulti, but it can still work. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Ori here.
Yeah, well, Seraphine, that's interesting. Like I would have liked the Orianna, but the Seraphine does give you some nice combination with the Irelia and also with the both the Olaf and the Rakan, to be honest with you. A lot of CC on this team, and so a lot of ways to again try and keep this Darius and this Kha'Zix kind of like incapacitated, I would say. And let's see how Team Dark choose to round out their combo. I'd love to see, well, Varus is banned actually, so I was about to say that, but Orianna could work for them. I will say that you may be lacking a bit of consistent AD damage. But that might be the Galio like Senna bot lane potentially. What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely looks like it is the fasting Senna in the bot lane, unless they go for another pick here and maybe go for Galio in the mid lane. But Senna allows you to get the extra range. It's going to be Zed as well. So there's a lot of assassins on the side of Team Dark. But again, if they get caught out in a team fight, I don't think there's a way that Team Dark win this. You got Olaf running towards you. You got the combo of the Rakan quickness, also the Seraphine ultimate on top of that as well. A lot of assassins. You do have the backline threat of Senna as well, which can keep the distance. But to be honest, Team Dark want to go in. But when you go in and when Formulation are grouped together with all the shields and healing that we kind of already saw from the first game, it's just going to be really, really difficult for Team Dark to try and get the kills.
I think they're trying to think about how they can immediately blow up the Seraphine lane, like every single situation where she appears. And I think that's why the Zeds come through. But I do much prefer the Team Dark comp this time round compared to last time round. I think they've drafted something that has a little more legs. I will say that there is a blanket rule in Wild Rift Esports right now that the more CC, the better. And so like having things like the Galio are really nice additions. So I think it's a better draft in my eyes from Team Dark here, Stu. Whereas Formulation, they've shifted things up a little bit we're going to see Graves in the jungle, and it looks like it is going to be UI playing Olaf top, unless it is Graves top, which we obviously have seen from time to time. But what do you make of that Formulation gaming comp?
Very, very similar to the previous one. Again, very, very team fight heavy. It seems like you do have the side lane pressure from Don and from UI, but it's all about, you know, trying to get grouped up. It's all about using the Rakan ulti, using the Seraphine ulti, and then you have the follow up as well by using the Ragnarok from Olaf, and also Irelia jumping in as well. But as you said, for the side of Team Dark, it's all about the assassination. It's all about trying to get on them squishy carries, especially the Seraphine as well, because if you leave Fekko pretty much untouched on the Seraphine, we've already seen from the first game what he can do, and we're going to have to see what he can do in the second game as well.
Oh my god, this is going to be a good one. I mean, I think Team Dark have drafted something that is better, is got more foundational success from the draft phase, and potentially can get them back in this series. But of course, the way the Formulation played, they were leaving nothing, absolutely nothing out in that first game. We'll see if they can take this into a quick 2-0. I'm excited about this one.
Yep, it is going to be a very, very exciting Formulation against Team Dark. So it is going to be Olaf in the Baron lane and Graves running through the jungle. It's going to be Fasting Center and bot lane. I mean, for those who don't know what Fasting Center is, it's basically going to be Galio taking all the farm. And it's going to be Galio taking Electrocute as well. And we talk about that. UI and is already taking trades against Elegi.
Oh my goodness, Elegi just going toe for toe. Oh! And I mean, UI... you never trade with an Olaf level 1, man. Like, you're never gonna win that. Surely you know that. I mean, that's the point of Olaf, right? It's cheese. Olaf is a cheesy pick, Stu, and he just cheesed the ever-living daylights out of him.
He did indeed. Maybe Elegi felt a little bit confident with the stacks of the bleed passive for Darius. But yeah, Olaf, if you don't know, if he gets the lower he gets on health, the more attack speed he gets, which makes him really, really strong. And the axe as well, he can keep picking up, he can keep throwing it over and over again. And that's an early goal lead already for the side of Formulation, early advantage for the top side. I mean, you spoke about Elegi, how comfortable he is on Darius, but maybe he's not used to this matchup. Maybe he hasn't played this matchup that often. That's why he kind of felt a little bit more comfortable. Yeah, as mentioned, Senna in this duo lane, going to be Fasting Senna. So Senna's going to be poking down the Seraphine and the Rakan, trying to get as many souls as possible. And you will see the Galio picking up all of the farm. And interestingly enough, I actually don't know what rune Fekko took first game, but it's Electrocute on Seraphine this time, and also Electrocute on Galio as well. But enough of that. Zawa's in the mid lane now.
Zawa's going in, and that is going to be another kill for Don. I mean, it's too easy for these guys, man. They are just taking free kills, and Team Dark look a little lost, little out to water right now.
Yeah, they definitely look a little bit lost, and the rotations at the moment on the side of Formulation are really what winning them this series so far. Zawa has been so good, you know, on the previous game with Gragas being able to roam around the map, and now on the Rakan as well, which you could say is a more of a playmaking champion than Gragas as well. But yeah, I feel like Zawa's been kind of under the radar, really. I mean, I spoke a little bit about Zawa before, about he used to play in the mid lane before for, I believe it was Singularity last year in the Origin series, and now moving into this support role as well. And he has the playmaking potential, and he has, you know, he is very, very comfortable, and he does know the game very, very well.
Yeah, I think he's really smart. He's going to go straight in. Oh, he has to flash. I mean, that was going to be risky, I think, for UI. Sync's going to flash in, looks for the kill. Doesn't quite find it, but 1 min's coming through. He's going to have to use the ultimate as well. He will drop. But that was a lot of resources that were burnt right there for the simple kill on UI on the top side of the map.
Yeah, flash for Sync, ultimate down for Zed as well. So probably won't be down. The ultimate for Sync is down as well, but probably won't be up, sorry, for the Dragon and the Rift Herald that is going to be coming in about a minute or so. So they might have it up and available. Both of them about a quarter of the way done as well. But we see this mid lane kind of priority that both teams like to get, and we kind of see this as a normal thing now. The other thing is like Galio Senna doesn't really have the best pushing power, but I guess neither really does Seraphine as well at the same time. Both of them kind of just have like one ability. You have the Galio Q and also the Seraphine Q as well to try and clear the ways. But both teams don't have the best mid lane priorities. But it's going to be interesting to see what objective both teams try and focus on. You can see the UI and Zawa at the moment already looking to try and get some vision control around this Rift Herald area, and Kimau is also up here as well, so we're going to be trying to look to focus maybe on the Rift Herald, and it looks like that's going to be the focus for Formulation this game.
Yeah, it could be the case. Elegy is actually kept himself relatively even with UI as well, so not too far out of the course. Doesn't look like the setup is there right now for Team Dark. They are losing out on the Rift Herald for free, and they haven't even got a good setup on the Dragon right now, so have given away quite a lot in terms of objectives. It looks like we are getting a setup towards that Ocean Drake, and I don't think that Formulation are going to be too concerned about it. It looks like they're going to let it go.
Yeah, it looks like they are going to let go. I mean, Sync went back to base, so they were a little bit late. But look, they haven't even started the Dragon. They're too worried about starting the Dragon because, you know, in Wild Rift, you just come out of the base so quickly. When you go back to base and when you run back onto the Rift, you get so much extra movement speed as well. So they don't want to risk the 50-50 of the Dragon. And as you said, they're just going to give the Rift Herald over for free as well. And you can see that on the side of Formulation, they do have all the items completed already, pretty much. Black Cleavers across the board. Blade of the Rune King for Don in the mid lane. And also that Luden's Echo as well. So again, it's kind of Formulation being the ones that are kind of being the more proactive this game as well. And Team Dark, again, as you said already, they kind of feel a little bit lost as well, and they're not even going to try and take this Dragon. They're just going to, what seems like they might just give it up.
It's interesting. Very interesting from Team Dark. I feel like they could have been way more proactive in their setup. I guess they're just worried about the impact of the Seraphine ultimate at this point in the game where they aren't exactly ahead. So they're just maybe worried about walking into a 5v5 where they potentially just lose. Very interesting. They're giving away a lot here for free. They've even given away the top layer, the first tower of the game, and have yet to convert into the Dragon. This is very scared stuff from Team Dark right now.
Yeah, it looks like they just played a lot more passive, but the problem is if you play passive in the early game, then you're just giving up so many leads. You know, as you said already, you know, Rift Herald's gone down. That's also allowed Formulation to take the first tower of the game, so they got a little bit of gold for that. They already have nearly a 2,000 gold lead as well. They're trying to get this mid lane priority again. The Sentinel's getting quite a few stacks, to be fair, at the moment, but with Senna, we're going to have to wait until we get into the real mid and late game, kind of, I would say like 12 minutes and above, really, until the Senna becomes really, really impactful. But now you have this wave of pressure that's always going to be going down into the duo lane, which Don is always going to be pushing out. It just seems like both teams just don't want to take Dragon at the moment, and this is very different to a lot of games that we've seen from the WREC, but it just shows you how much pressure these two teams are under as well, because if you win this, you get into the next round of the upper bracket, which is they're going to be the semi-final in the upper bracket. So a lot at stake for these two teams, but even if they do lose, they can still go down to the lower bracket as well. So it's not all doom and gloom.
No, there's still got some lifelines if you lose this series. The winner does go on to face WREC, I believe, in this side of the bracket. So you've still got a tough test ahead of you, even if you do win. But regardless, Formulation looking pretty strong thus far. Some item spikes to talk about as well, Stu. The Seraphine Ludens. We have double Black Cleaver stacked up. We also have the Blade of the Rune King. You're going to try and find a pick onto Elegy here. He's going to be the target. We're going to get the Grand Entrance coming through. That's exactly the combo they were looking for. That's a great ultimate from Seraphine for the time being. We're still going. We're still going very strong as UI just popping off. No one can take this man down. Zed tries to go in, but the stasis is already there for Fico, and that is Zed shut down. That is a huge win from Formulation Gaming. And they're going to get the Dragon to boot as well. Again, just superior in the team fights.
Yeah, again, it's the team fights. I kind of mentioned it a little bit in draft as well, when Formulation group up together with all this shielding and healing that the Seraphine can offer, with the Rakan quickness, with the Seraphine ultimate as well. Sync's going to try and steal it. He does steal it.
The really big win. Just scraping something out of that situation was absolutely needed for Team Dark. And now, maybe even looking to capitalize on their superior HP bars and push down that mid lane tier 1. You can see Seraphine a little reluctant to stay much closer now. You can see Elegy has that dunk available, doesn't have the flash, but has got the blast cone, maybe looking to get on to Fico at the same time. Zawa's trying to punish, but no one really there to kind of follow up. That's a bit of a boon in morale, you would feel, for Team Dark.
Yeah, they're not able to take the mid lane tower. They might also be stuck as well. Elegy playing really, really aggressive. He's just going to be knocked up here.
I mean, they're just going all in. I mean, that's Don going for the first kill. They're going to find the kill with UI, picking it up. It'll be the ultimate from one mid, but he used it on a very low HP target, 1-for-1 at the end of the day. Formulation Gaming, very aggressive, maybe to get some kind of advantage to set up for this Rift Herald. Fico has got 0 HP, 0 mana, rather, by the way. So he tries to use ultimate. Sync manages to dodge it out, though. That's a really big win, honestly. I think at Formulation Gaming getting a little bit twisted around this objective. Looks like they're going to back away for the time being, though. We'll smite it down as UI forced to jump and run, make sure he doesn't get caught out, and actually Mario will end up picking up that River Scuttler. Then now there's a bit of mid lane priority. Could end up being the mid lane tier 1 dropping as well as the bot lane tier 1 too. It's a good play for Team Dark overall. Oh, they engaged the
is going in though.
Oh, they're onto Senna. They're too greedy. I thought they maybe had the chance, but they did not. A little bit too greedy. Coming out from Formulation, or rather from Team Dark right here in Formulation Gaming, aptly punished. Zawa has been an absolute beast on this. Why did I forget his name? Rakan. Absolute beast on this Rakan.
Yeah, there's been a lot of fights, but I don't know if it's going to stop.
They keep going for it for the time being. That's going to be a taunt coming up from 201. They're trying to tag down Elegy. He's the next target. He got a huge heal off. Absolutely a monstrous heal as the flash comes out from Fico. Just stop, guys. I need to stop talking. Just stop. I need to catch my breath. There's too much action going on.
I think you can take a breather now. I think both teams are going to back off. That was a very interesting last, 2-3 minutes of action. We saw the Steel going for Sync and being able to take away the Ocean Dragon. The next dragon is going to be Cloud as well. And then it was kind of a situation where it was just like, you're going back to base, we're going to make a play, but then you're going to go back to base and we're going to make a play. And then it was kind of little oversteps here and there as well. Both mid lane towers are very, very low. Unfortunately for the side of Formulation, they weren't able to take the mid lane tower with that Rift Herald. But overall, I would say definitely a win for the side of Formulation. Even though they did lose the dragon, they did take double Rift Herald. They were able to take the tower as well in the Dura lane for the time being. And they can look to try and get this mid lane as well, but this is definitely feels like it's a little bit closer to the first game. I mean, Team Dark is still kind of a little bit all over the place. I feel like their communication is definitely not up there because it seems like, some players want to go in, some players want to back off, and Formulation, they just want to try and group together to try and work out this Seraphine Rakan combo to try and get to team fights.
It's like how you tackle that, I think, right now for Formulation game, or rather for Team Dark. Alexi's already popped the Gargoyles, by the way. That stone plate enchantment already used. That's a big cooldown, actually, that you maybe look to exploit around the start of this next dragon. So very interesting. How does Team Dark approach this is the question, right? How do you deal with the Seraphine impact in these team fights? And Zaur, again, once more, they know that Elegy doesn't have that get-out-of-jail-free card of the stone plate. You're going to put a bit of damage down on him before these objectives start to spawn.
Yep, it's going to be the Cloud Dragon spawning in 10 seconds. So, I mean, to be honest, if Formulation can get this Cloud Dragon, the extra movement speed that they could get onto like Olaf, Graves, Irelia as well, even the Rakan, that's going to definitely help them out a lot in the team fights. It looks like both junglers are heading their way down to the Dragon at the moment. Don's gone back to base, so he's going to be a little bit slow. Only 36 stacks for Senna. I feel like that's really, really low. I could be wrong, but that does seem really, really low.
Oh, the flash ult away to try and buy some time as Elegy pops that stone plate enchant once more. We've already seen the hero's entrance. It's blow for blow in terms of big ultimates for the time being. And now, oh, UI, he just wants some. He just wants some, and he's straight into the fight with Don and onto the backline immediately as we see the Kha'Zix forced out of the fight. Sync no longer relevant right now as Elegy keeping himself in that fight. Has a little bit of tank, but he doesn't have much left now as they go straight in. Don onto 201, flashes away. Don follows him and gets him over the wall. It's going to have to be another miracle steal coming out from Sync should he want to go for this dragon. Looks like he doesn't really want to risk it this time round, and it will be a dragon for Formulation Gaming. They are just better in these team fights, and they are catching out Team Dark every time.
Insane. Even though Fekko uses ultimate, they still had Zal with the ultimate with the quickness straight afterwards, and you have one ultimate down, you've still got the other up and available. And, Elegy already used his stone plate, already used engage as well. Again, it's Elegy stepping really, really far forward, trying to get this combo with the Galio. But this time it's Fekko actually flashing away with the ultimate. So in the first game, he was flashing in, but now he flashed out away to safety. You can see Zao right here as well. You can see UI. UI goes in, Zawa goes in as well, and they completely burst down the members. This team fight started off really, really slow, to be fair. Just fights happened left, right, and center, and there was, again, just really, really low for members. But again, it's Elegy again, just playing really, really far into the front line. And I feel like it's very uncharacteristic for him to be able to just play this aggressive when the rest of his team are not really there to follow up, because we know what this guy can do. We've seen him play before. He used to play on WREC.GG before last year. We know how strong he is, but it seems like this game, he's 0-4 at the moment. And it seems like he's just kind of a little bit out of it this game.
By the way, MVP warded the tri-brush that allowed Don to follow Galio over the wall as well. Just that little tri-brush ward, and Don was just very easily able to jump over the wall and follow 201 and take him down. Speaking of which, item spikes for him. He's at the dead man's plate with the Rod of Ages, pretty beefy. He's got a decent amount of gold to back him up. Senna's got a decent amount too, at sitting at the Iceborne Gauntlet. So a lot of control. There's 3 black cleavers, by the way. 3 black cleavers for Team Dark. They're going to try and take out Sync, but he'll manage to escape relatively easily. There's also 3 black cleavers for Formulation Gaming. Well, there are black cleavers everywhere. Is the item just that broken now? Like, is the item itself just that insane?
I mean, we've even seen things like Black Cleaver Corki as well, but you know.
And speaking of, we have the engage coming through. That's going to be the hero's entrance for the time being. Doesn't knock up the Olaf, but there is the follow-up from Seraphine. The exhaust comes down, another kill. A killing spree for Fico on this Seraphine. In the meantime, the man that we've heard very little from, Kemal, just pummeling away with the shotgun on the sidelines. Huge amounts of damage coming through as the healing there to keep his team relatively intact. And time again, they ask that question of Team Dark. Are you ready to team fight us? And Team Dark think maybe, Team Dark think yes, but they can't. They can't. And Zawa once more. I mean, I know that the eyes have been on Don and on Fico, but for me, Zawa has been an absolute beast this series. Especially on this Rakan, he's been so good. Really, really great engagers coming through. We'll look back at that engage now, Stu.
Yeah, of course. I mean, again, it's kind of the problem of Team Dark's composition. Again, when it comes to the team fights, they have the Galio this time, but again, they're running double assassin as well, and they have to try and get onto the squishy members. But how can you get onto the squishy members when you have such a big front line on the side of Formulation? And with this Galio as well, not building full AP damage, there's a lot of AD damage over the side of Team Dark, but this could be it.
This could be it. They're going in on Stat Dragon. They're going to try and go for it, but it gets smited away for Formulation. They're still going. They're still fighting. They're still taking the blows. No one going down yet, but it's unstoppable for Fico as he's kept in the pit. He's by himself. Ultimate flush over the wall. He's still going. Fico escapes. It is a 1 for 2, but the Dragon, or rather Baron, firmly in Formulation Gaming's hands. We see the next spawn timer is that Elder. Pings coming across for Team Dark. They are going to want to fight for that one because that's a huge objective that has now been lost.
That was really, really risky. I was kind of worried for a second there for the side of Formulation. No, Sync already showed that he can win the smite fights, and in the end, it was coming out to take away the Baron. As you said, it was a 1 for 2 trade in the end, but most important thing for the side of Formulation is they were able to take the Baron in the end. I know you forgot the name there for a second, but yeah, you can see you can see that Juicy on this Galio, again, I briefly mentioned it, going for a bit more of a tankier build instead of full AP Galio, which means that there's just a lot of AD damage sources on the side of Team Dark. You can see across the board, everyone has, I was about to say Ninja Tabby, everyone has plated steel caps on the side of Formulation. You're seeing Randuin's Omen from Olaf as well, so even more armor. You see Dead Man's Plate and even more armor from Rakan as well. So there's a lot of armor on the side of Formulation. I feel like there's not enough AP damage as well, and there's no way that they can get through this front line of Formulation.
Yeah, you're completely right. I think the problem is that you are lacking a really good AP damage source, and you actually have a decent front line to take advantage of that on the side of Formulation, as you said. Trying to catch out Zawa, 201 gets a pick, but it's onto the Rakan in the meantime. Don into the backline by himself, double stun, big ult from the Fico. It's absolutely insane. Just complete devastation. I know Fico drops to 1 mid in the backline, but or either to Sync overall, but it's just Formulation just destroying these team fights.
I think it's going to try and maybe kill you. If he can kill UI here, this is going to be really big. Unfortunately, won't be able to flash forward as well. Sync could be in a little bit of trouble, but Sync, this is desperation for him now. But yeah, he's going to go down.
He's going to go down. Don finds the kill now. 1 mid, tries by himself to go 2v1, but he will not be able to. They're just trying to zone them away from that Elder for the time being. Don is good enough by himself. Should be able to follow up on 1 mid here, and he does. And that will be Elder and a blue team ace as they take them down with the Baron in tow as well. You can't help but feel this is going to be a nice, clean 2-0 for Formulation Gaming.
Yeah, it does seem like it in the end. The Elder Dragon is going to go down. We're going to take a look back at that fight again. This time, Galio trying to play a little bit aggressive, but Don onto the backline. The double stun onto the Seraphine ulti as well. Seraphine was all the way in the backline. I mean, he died in the end. I mean, you have double assassins that are jumping onto Seraphine, and you don't have anyone there to protect you. I mean, at the end of the day, you are going to die, but before he died, he was able to get the clutch ultimate out and the clutch charm over, and Team Dark were kind of charmed away themselves. And I feel like this whole series, they've been charmed as well, because yeah, they're just falling to absolute pieces at the moment. And honestly, I'm really, really surprised from this series. I feel like Formulation have this in the bag now. And honestly, going into this, we were thinking, you know, most of the analysts as well, most of the broadcast team were like, you know, Team Dark are going to win this. And it was actually Stress, the only one that thought the Formulation was going to win this as well. So very, very interesting indeed, and definitely a big surprise.
I think absolutely they're desperately trying to keep themselves in this game right now, but they can't. And I agree with you. I agree with you. I think maybe we underrated Formulation. I really think we have. I think we've massively underrated Formulation. I think we maybe overrated Team Dark, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day because it's Formulation that will win this series. Incredible performance from them. Better drafting, better play, better macro, better micro, better team fights, better everything. And they deserve this win through and through. I think Team Dark, unfortunately, came thoroughly unprepared to deal with Formulation, who find their way into the semi-finals of the winners bracket and book a slot versus WREC's GG.
Insane performance by the side of Formulation. I think definitely surprising a lot of people, to be fair. I thought this was going to be a really, really close series. The first game was a little bit closer, but our second game, was just a complete stomp. And in the end, Formulation were able to take it down. But again, I feel like it's more on the side of Team Dark as well. You know, as you mentioned, the drafts were really great for Team Dark, even in the team fights as well. And the way that we're playing these team fights were very uncharacteristic for Team Dark. I've watched this team many times in, you know, different community tournaments as well. And I know what this team could do, and I know what Elegi can do as well. And I think a lot of the community know what this team can do. But Formulation, credit where credit is due. They came out and they went all guns blazing, and honestly was an insane performance for the side of Formulation.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Stu. I think Formulation deserved this through and through. Genuinely, we know, you know, Team Dark have been a coin flip team. I think the way we always painted them as a team that can kind of be amazing, or a team that can sometimes not be so much so, but I think at the end of the day, this was one of the days where Formulation deserved every single moment of this win. As I mentioned, I think their drafts were better. I think the way they approached the game was better. Their team fighting was better. Everything about their gameplay today was just superior. And I think the better team almost certainly came out on top. Fico as well, Giga Chad on this Seraphine, really played super well across the entire series. But honestly, everyone played their role. If I'm completely honest with you, everyone played their role about how good or how well they played. Don popped off in the first game. Zawa has been consistent all series, and this time round as well. You even saw UI popping off on that Olaf. So a brilliant game from everyone on Formulation Gaming, really.
Yeah, you can see that you can ban away the Gragas, you can ban away the Nunu as well, but it looks like the main focus that what they should have banned away, which we were kind of expecting as well, was banning away the Irelia, maybe even banning away the Seraphine as well, because as you mentioned, you know, Seraphine was a strong pick from last year, but some teams maybe have found a way to work around Seraphine, but that also means that teams are not played with or against the Seraphine for such a long time. And this is definitely something I feel like Formulation were practicing in scrims with this kind of Seraphine with Irelia jumping in onto the backline, and it worked out wonders for them.
Yeah, Irelia is such a good chain for the Seraphine ultimate as well, because you can just set it up so nicely. It was slow and steady, but very quickly accelerated from about 13 minutes onwards to a decisive victory at the end here. You can see 19-6. You saw the gold lead, you saw the kill score. I mean, it was a dominating game from Formulation Gaming from start to finish. Really well played with them, and again, like I said, they thoroughly deserve this win.
Yep, 100% deserve the win, and they're going to have to play against WREC in the next round as well, so it doesn't get much tougher than that, to be honest, for Formulation, but they're going to go back. They haven't got long to prepare for that. I think they got like a few weeks or something to prepare for it, so they got a little bit of time, but still, Formulation, congratulations to them, and a very strong performance.
So look at the play of the game. Which one do we think it was? Yeah, this is the one that I would have chosen. Yeah, absolutely.
100%. Don flash ulti onto the backline. You can see Seraphine as well. I want to kind of focus on the Seraphine. Even though he died in the end from the double assassination, he used his ultimate. He then used his stasis as well, which kind of delayed Zed and Kha'Zix and didn't allow them to get the resets, especially for the Kha'Zix as well. And when you're trying to dive in with this double assassination comp, you need to get the resets for the Kha'Zix. You need to get the early kills, because if you get delayed by stasises or anything like that, then the rest of Formulation can just follow up and just kill the rest of the team. And that's kind of what happened in that team fight. It was Don on the backline with Zawa as well, and they were able to clean up that team fight.
Well, let's take a look at who the MVP of this game and series were as we kind of tone back and have a look at who had the most impact overall on Formulation Gaming. And this time round, it is going to be Fico on that Seraphine in the Dragon Lane.
Yeah, very unique pick. We've seen Fico bring out some very, very unique picks before as well. We've seen him play Galio in the duo lane. Now we've seen him play Seraphine in the duo lane as well. The champion pool of this man is absolutely insane. And honestly, a huge credit to him because like we mentioned, we don't really see Seraphine that much, but it just shows that Seraphine can still be a really strong teamfight champion. And when you have champions around her as well, like the Rakan, like the Aurelia that can dive on as well, and kind of allow Seraphine to follow up and allow the ultimate to extend, it can be really strong. But big props to Don as well on the Aurelia for both the games as well. I definitely feel like he was a contention as well for MVP. But yeah, Fico definitely deserved MVP for this series on the Seraphine.
I absolutely agree. I think he played out of his mind. I think, again, bringing a pick that was super popular last year back into popularity, I think, this year as well, showing that how impactful Seraphine is. And I don't know whether people just forgot or got kind of like overwhelmed by the popularity of the Ziggs Orianna meta, but Seraphine's shown that she can still have the same impact that she did previously, still is a huge teamfight player. And in these situations, we've had so many clutch ultimates, I can barely count how many times Fico like single-handedly had a huge impact in the team fight. So really big win for him. And that now pits them up against WREC's GG, who we saw earlier in the day. How are you feeling about Formulation? I'm thinking it's maybe closer than I previously thought. WREC's versus Formulation might prove to be a pretty exciting series, especially because Formulation is so proactive in the early game.
100%. I think it's definitely the draft as well for Formulation. I have to give props to them as well for with these kind of unique picks that they're bringing out as well. And like you said, it could be a very close series indeed. And going down to the losers bracket now, you can see Team Dark will be playing off against Weigers, which will be happening tomorrow, and also Na'Vi against Aphelion as well. So both the losers for today, Team Dark and Na'Vi, they kind of have to come back really quickly because they got until tomorrow to kind of play against the likes of Aphelion and Weigers. In the bottom side as well, you got Team Queso, Blows, Zero Zone, and Control. Some very strong teams in the lower side of the bracket already, which is very scary.
Yeah, that's the thing where you've got to look out for now. You've got the likes of Na'Vi, you've got Queso, Zero Zone, and Team Dark all sat in that bottom end of the bracket. And of course, there's still some good teams on the top side. I will say that I think the Game Lord Viv matchup will be interesting. I expect Game Lord to be the victors there. Of course, tomorrow we still have more games to bring you. We have Team Dark versus Weigers, and then Na'Vi versus Aphelion, and then over on Sunday we'll have Team Queso versus Blows and Zero Zone versus Control. So we're going to round out those loser bracket matchups that we have. It's going to be interesting. Will there be any upsets, do you think, Stu, across this weekend?
Ooh, it's going to be very... I mean, I feel like we've kind of had an upset already with the Formulation Team Dark game, if I'm totally honest with you. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised about that. But across the board, I think I have to look at Control. I mean, Control is a team that me and Hells have a very close heart to, and hopefully they can pick up the win. But yeah, it's going to be difficult for all of them teams that won the first side of the lower game bracket, because you look at the teams that come down from the upper bracket, Na'Vi, Team Dark, Team Queso as well. There's a lot of strong teams that come down from the upper bracket, but I think it will be the upper bracket teams that will be able to win across the board for the rest of this weekend. But we've seen upsets happen, and especially because it's a new patch as well. If teams can prepare very quickly and kind of find these niche picks like the Seraphine, that could be the difference in these series.
Absolutely. We're going to bring our boy Hells back into the frame before we say goodbye for the day, because Hells, you're watching from the sideline this time round. How did you feel about that series? What were your takeaways from the Formulation Gaming Team Dark matchup?
My God, I absolutely loved watching it, especially Velcom on that Seraphine. I was basically sitting here on like, while you guys were casting, I was really holding myself into that just scream, because those ultimates were crazy, just crazy. And like, honestly, I absolutely watched Formulation Gaming play. They were really good, and they're not playing boring picks. You know, I'm saying boring because we were getting Darius, etc. every game. They're playing these crazy picks, Aurelia, Seraphine, and I really love that about the team, and I want to see more of that.
Yeah, and of course, we will get to see more of them throughout the coming weeks here at the WREC. Now, of course, we have those matchups tomorrow. Stuart and Hells, I'm really looking forward to seeing how they play out across this weekend. Of course, we've got all those loser bracket games to come, and there's some amazing teams playing. I'm personally really looking forward to the Spanish showdown of Team Queso versus Blows. I think a very country-driven matchup there, which is going to be really interesting to see. But for the time being, that about rounds up our day here at the WREC. It was some amazing games. We saw WREC's in action once again. That series was mind-blowingly good. Some great highlights. And then we saw Formulation Gaming come out in full strength versus Team Dark. Thank you so much, guys, for watching today. Of course, we're going to be here tomorrow, 1 hour earlier, as we are on the weekends, and we'll be there on Sunday as well. So make sure you come back and check out all of the games that the WREC has to offer this weekend. We'll see you then.
Galileo.